Bam, everybody. Welcome to this episode of The BRANCA Show. I am, of course, attorney Andrew Branca, and we are here to talk about BRANCA reacts to reactions. Reactions to the Karmelo Anthony conviction and sentencing, and it has been insane. Definitely seeing a huge divergence between the irrational segments of the community, the black community of Karmelo Anthony, and also the rational, the normal, the reasonable segments of the black community in America. And by the way, the radical, irrational elements are 100% black. The rational elements are a mix of the races. Isn't that interesting? I thought that was fascinating. So we'll be doing a lot of reaction videos and debunking a bunch of the perpetual lies that keep getting told about these high-profile homicide cases involving black people. Black people. They're never wrong. They're always oppressed. It's always injustice. It's always the power fist. But in fact, they're all guilty. Every one of these high-profile cases. And we're going to step through those as well. Thank you all for being here. I did start on time. A rare start on time. And I got everything set up this morning. The slightly later start date is beginning to bear fruit. Now, before we dive into all the serious stuff, let's start off with a little humor. Why don't we? Here's another AI video of the Karmelo Anthony story that I thought you guys might enjoy. Here we go. Oops.
Get out of here.
In Karmelo Anthony Simulator, you can solve problems with a knife, start a GoFundMe, and become a hero overnight, and try to beat the system.
But once you're inside, the real punishment begins. Karmelo Anthony Simulator, FAFO Edition.
All right, so I thought that was funny. I'm sure he's just getting some suntan lotion applied right there at the end. I'm sure that's what that is. Here's another one that I thought was pretty good. This is from a movie some of you may have seen. Karmelo Anthony at his next track event.
Get set.
All right. We got more. I found this one. This one, of course, is from the other side, the crazy side. This is how Rescue Women Femininity is a very hardcore pro-Karmelo account. This is how the Karmelo Anthony trial looked like. It's the KKK, Nazi, swastikas, poor Karmelo all by himself. There's a noose hanging in the background. But of course, any fair take on this would have to note that this courtroom was wholly funded by the Southern Poverty Law Center. My take on that. Also, this was super funny. It's not supposed to be funny, but it ended up being extremely funny. Remember this guy? I call him Hippity Hop. The black gentleman here in the face of the white gentleman, screaming, hopping. Whoop, sorry. There wasn't supposed to be music. Let me try again. I'll just mute it. The important point is the Hippity Hop, this guy. Remember him? There was lots of footage of him. He was very high profile outside the courtroom. Well, he's not having such a good time now. Hippity Hop won a free pair of bracelets. Collin County Sheriff's Office. Jerome Parker Winston was arrested outside the courthouse for unlawful carrying of a weapon. Turns out, I know you'll be shocked. I know you'll be shocked. This black man had an outstanding arrest warrant. Oh no, I can't believe it. I mean, considering that only 33% of black males in America have felony convictions, I can't believe Hippity Hop would have an outstanding warrant. It's it's unbelievable. And just to address, I'm sure, all the cries of Andrew's such a terrible racist that'll be following this show. I just want to remind everybody, my definition of the perfect U.S. Supreme Court, at least one that doesn't have me on it, my definition of the perfect U.S. Supreme Court looks like this. Nothing but black guys. Just clone Clarence Thomas. 9 of him, and I would be I would be a very happy member of the U.S. Supreme Court bar. And there's my U.S. Supreme Court bar certificate right there. Now, of course, not everybody's crazy, and I did come across a black lawyer who was very sensible. I'm not sure I agree with his legal conclusion, but I think his take was reasoned, and that's worth pointing out because there were some crazy black lawyers out there talking about all this stuff. But let's listen to this gentleman. So he's being interviewed by the woman at the top, and he's speaking. David Otunga is the lawyer speaking at the bottom here. So let's hear what he has to say.
Jury, they deliberated less than 3 hours and they came back with a guilty verdict. What does a deliberation that fast usually tell us?
Well, they pretty much had their minds made up. For me, I think that it came down to Karmelo Anthony not taking the stand because this is a self-defense case. And a lot of times just
with a death. So somebody was killed. And I agree with him here. He's saying, sometimes the jury wants to hear from the defendant. A lot of times the jury will say, all right, you say you killed a guy, you say you did it in self-defense. We need to hear from you that you had an actual good reason for taking a human life. If that's true, we'll acquit you. But we need to hear it from you.
In my experience as being a lawyer, a lot of time the defendant needs to take the stand. It is their right not to, but jurors often want to hear from the defendant in his or her own words what happened. And there was a long delay yesterday, some 3 hours, and they thought that the defense was preparing Karmelo Anthony to take the stand. And
You think it's possible within the laws of physics to have prepared Karmelo Anthony to take the stand and not simply burn his defense completely to the ground? I mean, there's a reason they didn't put him on the stand, right?
He ended up not doing that, and they rested their case, which was surprising to me. Because just following this, I'm not sure that they raised enough reasonable doubt about this being self-defense.
Yeah, no kidding. He's not sure. So, of course, the state has to disprove self-defense beyond a reasonable doubt. Another way of saying that is the defense needs to raise a reasonable doubt that it could have been self-defense. I would argue they were not actually entitled to a self-defense jury instruction at all. They didn't meet their burden of production. They didn't meet the more than 0% evidence for each of the elements of self-defense: innocence, imminence, proportionality, avoidance, and reasonableness. You need all of them. I guess not avoidance in Texas in an otherwise lawful case of self-defense, which this was not an otherwise lawful case of self-defense. But you need more than 0 evidence in support of those elements. So there's something for the jury to consider. If there's 0 evidence on a required element of self-defense and there's nothing for the jury to consider, it cannot, as a technical matter, be self-defense. You're missing a required element. I don't think they met their burden of production. The defense did. And if you don't meet that, the burden on self-defense does not shift to the state. Self-defense just disappears as a legal defense. The jury ought not get a self-defense jury instruction. I mean, there is no defense. And essentially that's what, obviously the judge gave the self-defense jury instruction, but it didn't help because this jury was not insane.
Wasn't convinced. I felt Karmelo needed to take the stand.
And to that point, the jury, though, they had 3 options, right? Not guilty, manslaughter was one of them, or murder. What does it mean that they skipped right past manslaughter?
I still feel like manslaughter fit more perfectly just off of what I've heard. And you have to take into account these were teenagers, 17 years old. Karmelo Anthony did not have a criminal record. It was a 3.8 GPA. I believe he was captain of the football team, track star. He was a good kid up until this point. So it seemed like
up until he killed somebody,
it was more reckless. And because even his statements directly after the fact, this was a pocket knife, which it's being reported a 3-inch blade. I think the whole thing was 5 inches, and it was just one wound. He just reached out and stabbed one time. So it wasn't like he stabbed over and over and over and then fled. And even then,
let's reverse the races here. Would he be describing the events in this manner if Austin Metcalf had shoved a knife into the heart of Karmelo Anthony for no good reason? Would he say, well, it was not that big a knife. It was only one stab.
And saying, is Austin going to be okay? To me, that doesn't sound like the words or the intent of somebody knowingly trying to kill somebody else. But it's
Well, of course, it's worth recalling what the jury instructions, what the law actually requires in Texas about this. On the murder jury instruction, what the jury had to decide: did he intentionally or knowingly cause the death of Austin Metcalf by stabbing him with a knife, a deadly weapon, or with intent to cause serious bodily injury, did commit an act so clearly dangerous to human life by stabbing Austin Metcalf with a knife that it caused the death of Austin Metcalf? I mean, clearly he knew he was committing an act clearly dangerous to human life. You stab a knife into someone's chest. It's an act clearly dangerous to human life. And it was intentional. He said it was intentional. He stopped by the cops minutes after the stabbing. And the cop goes on the radio. I have the alleged suspect. Karmelo Anthony says on body-worn camera, it's not alleged, I did it. I did it. And then, of course, he pled self-defense, where you have to concede that it was you, or you can't claim self-defense at all.
seemed to fit more the narrative of what potentially happened, where he might have been defending himself. Was it reckless? Yes. And it was with a knife, and it did end up causing Austin Metcalf to lose his life. But to me, it just didn't seem like that was the intention of Karmelo Anthony.
Here's the thing, though. You can't argue the manslaughter and the self-defense at the same time. They're inherently inconsistent. Now, to be fair, technically you can. I mean, the law will allow you to do that. Hey, I stabbed him intentionally in lawful self-defense. But jury, if you don't buy that one, I did it recklessly, or I did it in the heat of passion, or I didn't mean to do it. It was an accident. Pick one and save me. At least give me manslaughter. But that's not a coherent defense. That's just throwing a bunch of crap on the table and hoping the jury will pick something. His defense counsel went with a coherent defense. I stabbed him because it was in lawful self-defense. And that obviously did not work out. Did not work out great. Now, were there ways to get to manslaughter here? Perhaps if you skipped right there, if you said, listen, self-defense isn't going to fly here. There was clearly no evidence of a deadly force threat from Austin Metcalf. There was no group beatdown. There was no disparity of numbers attack. There was no that he was trapped. The opposite of being trapped. They were asking him to leave. The defense counsel could have told Karmelo, listen, self-defense is not going to fly here. That's a fool's errand. Let's go for manslaughter. Let's go for imperfect self-defense. Let's go for self-defense in a sense that you had a genuine, good faith, subjective belief in the need to use deadly defensive force, but we'll concede that belief was not objectively reasonable. That can get you to imperfect self-defense. It's not an acquittal, but it can mitigate murder to manslaughter. But it's hard to make that argument in a compelling way if you're also saying, no, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. So, but anyway, I thought that lawyer was reasoned. I don't think manslaughter, the way he's describing it as a reckless killing, was really viable here. But he reasoned himself to his position. Not all the lawyers. I can't say that about all the lawyers out there. Here's another black lawyer on TV, and he's not quite as not quite as good as this guy. Let's hear what he has to say.
If you have an affirmative defense of self-defense, you're saying, I did it, I stabbed him, but I had a reason to, you have to prove that that reason was valid. Now the burden of proof is on the defendant. He has to prove he was afraid of his life. He should have took that stand and said, I was sitting there, I tried not to act.
Okay, I guess he went to the Legal Bites School of Law. No, the defendant doesn't have to prove it. There has to be more than zero evidence from which a jury can have a reasonable doubt that that was the case, that he was reasonably in fear for his life. There was no such evidence here. But if there's more than 0% evidence, if there's something for the jury to consider, then the defense has to disprove that he was in fear for his life. The burden is on the defense, on the prosecution rather. The burden is not on the defense on self-defense. Once they meet their burden of production, the burden of persuasion, persuading the jury, is on the state. But you first have to meet that burden of production. If there's literally zero evidence of a deadly force threat, and there wasn't any evidence of a deadly force threat from Austin Metcalf or anybody else here, you're missing that required element of self-defense. You're missing proportionality. I would argue you're also missing the element of innocence because Karmelo Anthony provoked a confrontation. I would argue he's missing the element of avoidance. Although Texas is a stand your ground law, if you provoke the fight, you regain a legal duty to retreat before you can defend yourself. I mean, this was just a train wreck of a self-defense argument. He's also advocating that Austin Metcalf should have taken the stand.
I was sitting there. I tried not to act like I was afraid, but I really was. He has to prove he was afraid of his life. He should have took that stand and said, I was sitting there. I tried not to act like I was afraid, but I really was. I thought I was going to die. If he would have said that, he would have gave the jury the option, at least, of considering whether or not it truly was self-defense. Without him...
So all these black lawyers agree that Austin Metcalf should have taken the witness stand, which rather begs the question. Why didn't he take the witness stand? Oh, I've got this lady coming up next. And she's so crazy. She's so crazy. But before I get to her, because she's so good, before I get to her, let me catch up on some of these super chats and Rumble rants. Let's see. We have the always generous Gito463, $20. Thank you, my friend. He says, first, Branca reacts to reactions. Next, reactions react to Branca reacting to reactions. Finally, Branca reacts to reactions to Branca reacting to reactions. It's the circle of content, a death spiral, some might say. A death spiral. No, it's not really a death spiral. This is probably the last I'll have to say about Karmelo Anthony. There's other stories that need to be covered. Dirt Cheap, 1776, $5 says, saw Jeff Metcalf's interview last night, heart-wrenching. He reminded me very much of you. Watermelon felon. Well, where's the lie? Jeff Metcalf last night. He did a ton of his stuff was out last night. Someone sent me a link. It looked like he was doing his own live stream. But it was 3 hours long, my friends. And I just, I don't have 3 hours extra in the day. I just don't, especially not with the move. Go Ho Shane, $20. Thank you, man, for being on time. Buy some flowers. I will. I'll buy Emily some flowers. My lovely wife, Emily, doing all the heavy lifting on this move so I can be here with all of you. Riverband Chill, $5. Thanks for the coverage and helping fight back against the manipulated, uninformed narratives out there. Here, my friends, at the BRANCA Show, you will get the truth as I best know it. And when it comes to these high-profile use of force cases, there are few people who know the truth about those cases to the degree I do. Most of these cases I live streamed and watched every minute of. Many of them I have the full discovery file on, all the evidence, including stuff that was not admitted into the trial. So I'm gonna impress you with some of that knowledge today because we're gonna cover some of those, the misinformation, malinformation, disinformation propagated through those cases to make the black people involved in those cases look better and the white people look evil. I've done it before. I've covered all these cases. I've broken down these myths and lies before, but this is an opportunity to do it in a rapid fire, concentrated manner today. Hail Branca, 2 big, beautiful mugs on the way to me. He's talking about these mugs, my friends. The Trump 250 note mugshot mug. We put these together. We do a new mug every month at the BRANCA Show. This is one of our previous months, but we put together this special one for Father's Day. It's this mug. It also comes in normal sizes. You can check it out. The link for the mugs, all our mugs, this one too, is in the pinned in the chat, or you can scan that QR code with your phone. And it's not just the mugs. We also have the bill on T-shirts, cell phone cases, tumblers, koozies, coasters, all kinds of stuff. Here's the thing, though. It takes about a week for these products to ship to you. Father's Day is a week from Sunday. Sunday's only, 1, 2, 3 days from now. So I would urge you, don't wait. If you want to be able to hand this to your dad on June 21st, Father's Day, you need to place your order right away. Now, if your dad loves Trump, I guarantee you he's going to love these mugs. They are proving extremely popular. If your dad hates Trump, buy 2. Buy 2. He can smash them together. Buy half a dozen and a hammer from Home Depot, and he can smash them into little pieces. That'll be one of the most memorable Father's Days he's ever had. I promise you. I promise you. Thank you, Ortelius, for ordering a couple mugs. I appreciate it. Patricia Mansour, $5. Justice for Austin, and I feel like what's happening in Ireland is going on to here. Yeah, Ireland is one of the stories I have to get to, but I can't really get to it till I finish up Karmelo, so I think I'm finishing up Karmelo today. The tree godfather, racist is an anti-white slur, no matter what a dictionary says or how the right tries to redefine it. Only white people are, I don't know what the skull means. Use anti-white. Well, I have to talk to a very broad audience, the tree godfather, and most of them are not going to know what anti-white means. And let's see, here we have another Rumble rant. Last couple of locals shows not available. Couldn't watch the last one live, but tried. Well, there haven't been local shows for a few days because I haven't done a members-only show for a few days. I've been doing these very long, 2-hour-plus Karmelo shows, so that might be the issue. Sometimes locals does have a technical issue. I'll take a look at that after the show. Let's see. And $2 from Deidre. Thank you, Deidre. That's very kind. No question or comment, just some generosity right there. All right, let's get to this woman. This woman. She describes herself, or she's described as an attorney in Texas. Here we go. Listen to the inflammatory rhetoric. This was, of course, a lynching. Illegal lynching. I mean, talk about contradiction. It's an oxymoron. Lynching is, by definition, extrajudicial punishment, justice. If it's legal, it's not a lynching. It's just an execution.
One thing that I would ask for people to do at this moment is pray.
Remember her from yesterday? This is an attorney. She graduated law school, got a Juris Doctor degree, passed the bar, and she wants to ask us a question. She wants to chop down a tree, see if she can get a reply.
One thing that I would ask for people to do at this moment is pray for the Anthony family because they have been legally lynched for the last year. And
wow, that must have been terrible. Imagine getting lynched for a year. That's a long time. I thought it was only supposed to take a few minutes.
More so by this slaughterhouse of a courthouse as well as the family of the Metcalfs. So the energy right now is very white supremacy. They
White
have shown
supremacy.
up to be the pigs that they display.
We're pigs.
They are celebrating
I would suggest someone's being a racist.
the loss of life and a loss of freedom. So that's the energy. We have a devastated family who didn't know that they was going to have to let their son go back into a holdover because we have an overzealous prosecutor who lied throughout this trial, who put on liars.
One of the lawyers involved in this case lied. I'm going to show you one of those lies.
As witnesses in order to be a saving grace for the white community.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough of her. But there's something notable about her. She did pass, graduate from law school, get a JD, passed the bar in Texas, became an attorney. But she's not an attorney anymore. She's been disbarred for committing fraud, suspended for disciplinary reasons. Miss Thelma, I want to ask you a question. Anderson, not eligible to practice law in Texas. That's the level of the Karmelo supporters. Really remarkable. Thelma wants to ask me a question. Dirt Cheap, $5, says the high school where both boys attended and the incident happened gratuitously gave Mellon Felon a diploma, but kept denying Austin's till mom burned it down. I guess, yeah, right. Well, it's at two different high schools. Same school district, but two different high schools. They probably said, well, he didn't graduate, right? Right, because he got stabbed to death by Karmelo Anthony. So that's one way of not graduating. By the way, this dynamic, interestingly enough, you may have heard that from time to time Supreme Court justices are threatened with death. There's assassins. An assassin was arrested outside the home of Kavanaugh. Amy Coney Barrett gets death threats to her and her family all the time. And one of the issues with this is these leaks from the Supreme Court we've had with Roe v. Wade and other cases. if a decision is leaked before it's released, so they've already voted, it's already written, they're just waiting to publish the decision, and say it's a majority position for Trump, Kavanaugh voted for Trump, Amy Coney Barrett voted for Trump. If before it's released, those two were to be ended by Democrat terrorists, the decision's no longer valid. So the left could have stopped the reversal of Roe v. Wade by killing some Supreme Court justices. And they know this. They're aware of this. They talk about it amongst themselves. Imagine being in that job where you're making some of the most fraught political decisions for the nation that you know are going to be highly controversial and energize particularly the progressive fascist Democrat terrorist left. And all they have to do is kill you. And they don't have to worry about that decision anymore. They won. Isn't that amazing? Here we have another Rumble rant from Gito463. Again, $5. Lynched for a year. He can really hold his breath. That'll help him in prison. That'll help him in prison. That and they taking care of that gag reflex problem will probably help him in prison. All right, let's start getting to the crazy, the crazy people. The crazy people. And I'm sorry, I was looking for crazy white Karmelo Anthony supporters, but I just wasn't able to find any. Deidre Hastings, $5, says, would his juvenile record be unsealed if he took the stand, showing a pattern of violence? It ought to be, right? Once you're a witness, your character is open to credibility assessment by the jury. So evidence that is normally not admissible, character evidence, is admissible if you take the stand and testify on your own behalf. It opens all kinds of doors. So yeah, his juvenile record probably would have been admissible. I don't know that he had a juvenile record. I mean, juvenile records are normally sealed, but if he had one, it would be, the jury would see it. That may be one of the reasons it took him 2.5 hours to decide we just can't do this. We just can't do this. All right, let's listen to this black gentleman. He seems nice. Who wouldn't want this guy living in your neighborhood? Let's give a listen.
This is the mind of a Karmelo Anthony supporter from day one. Fuck. Glad that motherfucking black boy killed that cracker under that tent. Shit, that's self-defense too. He probably gonna get off. But then again, this is America. He under that tent. You know what? He might go to jail, but fuck it. I'ma hope anyway. Shit, cause of Obama, this might be a post-racial America. Hope he get off. What, he found guilty? Fuck. I don't know why I got my hopes up.
So he was found guilty, of course, not on the legal merits. But if Karmelo Anthony was found guilty, it has to be racism. It has to be.
I need it.
And so they were stupid to get their hopes up. The only outcome that would satisfy these black racist supremacists, which is what they are, because they don't care about the facts, they don't care about the law, they only care about the outcome. Was the outcome favorable for what they consider their tribe? And by the way, I should make that clear too. These people have decided they are outside the norm of American society. They are outside a race-blind American society. They have chosen to separate themselves. Everything they talk about is about their race. Their race is the central pillar of their entire existence. They're not really Americans. They're black. They're black. And so the whole system, it's like listening to these sovereign citizen people, right? Maritime treaties and right to travel and not engaged in, so I don't have to show you a license, officer, when they're pulled over. It's the same lunacy. They have separated themselves from normal American society. And then they complain that they're being treated unfairly. They don't want to be part of normal American society. They want to burn normal American society to the ground. Now, they don't want rules. They don't want law. They don't want systems. They only want what's good for their tribe. That's all they care about. If it's not good for black people, it's bad. It's bad. It's completely hyper-concentrated tribal self-interest. No engagement with the general society.
is moral victory. I needed this black man to get off for murdering this white boy in cold blood so I could feel better about my life and America. Now, he's guilty. I'm mad at myself for even hoping he was going to be not guilty. Ooh, I'm angry. What am I going to do with this anger? What I'm going to do with this anger? I'm going to transfer this anger somehow. You know, I could go boots on the ground and go to Texas. I could get mad at some white people and go out and do something to them. Or
Get mad at some white people and do some stuff. Just get mad at some white people. Because white people, of course, we're just generally responsible for all the bad things that happen to black people, including the bad things they do to themselves, like commit murder.
Could send the family some money. I ain't gonna do none of that, though. I'm gonna talk about it on the internet. This is what I'm gonna do.
See, he's calling them cowards. He's calling black people cowards for not doing those things, for not channeling their anger just generically at white people. Just go to Texas, do some bad stuff to white people. That's what a man would do. But they're cowards because they're just going to talk. They're not going to engage in hyperviolence against white people for having white skin. They're just going to talk. That's what he's criticizing.
I'm gonna talk about it on the internet. Now, I ain't gonna post it on my page, though, because all I talk about is Beyonce and Jay-Z and LeBron and the Knicks game. I don't want that shit on my page. What can I do to transfer this anger? I know. I'm gonna go to other people's page and call them coons and say they scared of white people. That's what I'm gonna do. Here we go. I'm gonna go to Javon's page.
Okay, that's enough for him. More people like this. Karmelo Anthony convicted of a jury not of his peers. Was Derek Chauvin convicted by a jury of his peers? Was he convicted by a jury of white police officers, 20-year career police officers? Was he? It didn't seem that way to me. Let's hear what this woman has to say.
All white juries convict black defendants at a higher rate than they convict white defendants. I'm a lawyer in real life. I don't play one on television. And
A lawyer in real life. So I guess one question I would ask her if I had the opportunity, let's assume what she's saying is true, that all white juries convict black defendants more at a higher rate than they do white defendants. I wonder why that might be. I wonder if there are race-neutral reasons why that might be the case. You know, a race-neutral reason like this one, for example. Just to illustrate what might be a race-neutral reason, like maybe black defendants are convicted by all white juries more than all white juries convict white defendants because maybe black defendants commit a lot more crime. Maybe they commit almost 50 times, for example, the interracial violent crime of white people. Now, that's just the interracial violent crime. But of course, we can just look at violent crime generally. Why might white juries, for race-neutral reasons, not out of racial animus, convict black defendants more often than white defendants? Well, maybe they commit murders at an astonishingly higher rate, 8, 9, 10 times than white people. Look at this. Black female commits murder, 8.7 per 100,000. And I know we're getting into the per capita thing. Sorry, black people. 8.7 per 100,000. That's the rate, which is like a tenth of the rate of their black male peers. But nevertheless, 8.7 for black women. That's the rate at which they commit murder. They commit murder at a higher rate than white men. White men is 7.5. Black women commit murder at a higher rate than white men. Maybe that's why they're getting convicted. Maybe it's not because of all the racist white people. Just a thought experiment.
And tonight, my heart is aching for Karmelo Anthony and for his family because there was nothing fair.
Not the boy who got the knife in the heart.
About the trial that he had. When we found out that the jury was all white, I knew at that point that his defense
Of course, it's not true.
was in trouble. It was difficult for me to look at the coverage of the Karmelo Anthony case because
Keep in mind, this is a real lawyer. She doesn't just play one on TV.
I knew an all-white jury panel was seated.
All right, I got to stop because she's got music in the background. But you get the point of what she's saying. And, he couldn't get a fair trial because it was an all-white jury. That's her point. Well, how do black jurors conduct themselves? Does anybody know how black jurors conduct themselves? Are they the fair ones? Are they the unbiased, impartial jurors when they're seated on a jury? Are they? Because it doesn't seem like it. This was a juror from the OJ trial, and she said, yeah, we all knew OJ was guilty, but we voted to acquit because of the Rodney King incident for social justice. Just listen to her.
Do you think that they're members of the jury that voted to acquit OJ because of Rodney King?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
How many of you think felt that way?
Oh, probably 90% of them.
90%. 90%. The truth is that white jurors are the only fair jurors. They're the only unbiased, impartial jurors that will not take race into consideration. They actually vote guilty for white defendants at a higher rate than they do for black defendants. The purple column here is a white juror. Finds white defendants guilty 39% of the time. Black defendants 32% of the time. They're more favorable to black defendants. The green column are non-white jurors. And they'll vote guilty for white defendants 73% of the time. Almost double what white jurors will do. But if you change that defendant from a white defendant to a non-white defendant, their conviction rate collapses to 24%. A third the rate. Who's being racist here? Which jurors are being racist? If anything, the white jurors are being favorable to other races. But the non-white jurors? You think you're getting a fair trial? You're getting due process of law if you have a bunch of black jurors judging you? Just look at what they do. And this is throughout all of life. All of life. It's only white people who have the worldview that, yeah, we're all pretty much the same. So study after study, they ask people of different ethnic groups to rate people of other ethnic groups. So the upper left column here is the white respondents. How do you rate white people? At the top dot here. Oh, we rate them about here. And the absolute rating doesn't matter. It's the relative space between the dots. So what about black people? Yeah, about the same. Hispanics, yeah, about the same. Asians, about the same. But you look at every other ethnic group, it's not a vertical stack like this. They each favor themselves, their own ethnic group, tremendously over other ethnic groups. How do Hispanics rate Hispanics? Right at the top of the scale. Everybody else? Lower, substantively lower. How do blacks rate blacks? Right at the top of the scale. Every other ethnic group, substantially lower. And by the way, for all of these, Asians, how do you rate other ethnic groups? Well, they rate Asians right at the top of the scale. Everybody else is lower. And what's lowest in the lowest rated ethnic group for every non-white group is white people. Every single time. The white people who've created everything that makes first world modern society possible. We're the ones that are held in contempt. We are the ones given the lowest ranks by every other ethnic group. And in a sense, it makes moral sense. So I've talked about this before, but in my view, morality has a biological anchor. An anchor to evolutionary biology. We live in a world of scarce resources. If you there's no parent no normal parent that doesn't prioritize the interests of their children, especially if the stakes are serious, over the interest of other people's children. And morality, moral decisions are decisions that foster the well-being of your group, of yourself, of your family, of your community, of your tribe, of your nation, because that's what fosters the success of your genetic line. That's the evolutionary biology component. In a world of scarce resources, if you generously give all your resources away to other groups, you die. You die out. So it's normal, it's moral to have an in-group preference. Now, in America, the in-group is supposed to be Americans. We're supposed to be a race-blind, color-blind, ethnic-blind society. We're all on the same team. But we see from these radical black supremacists, they're not on the same team. They're not on our team. They're their own team. And as long as they're their own team, it makes moral sense for them to have an in-group preference and a hostility to everyone else. That's why you see the spreading of those rankings for different ethnic groups. So this is a graph I've shared many times. But on the left here, normally this is conservatives versus liberals. Conservatives have a strong in-group preference, people who have expressed politically conservative sentiments. They say, yeah, and they'll say, this is what people are saying. This is their expressed view. It's not their real view. I'll get back to that in a minute. The expressed view of conservatives is their real view. Yeah, I'm going to prioritize me and mine and my community and my tribe by nation. And, it's not like I don't care at all about people on the other side of the world, but they're not going to get the concentration. That's the left. The heat is close to the center of the circle. What liberals do is they profess the opposite. They profess that they love the distant more than they love their own. It's not true. They're lying. Everybody is ultimately conservative about what they value most. But by pretending to value things far away, they don't have to act consistently with valuing the things that are close to them. And you can't really help the things that are far away. So it's just a way of being self-serving. You can never be tasked with helping your neighbor if your neighbor's a Nazi and has a Trump supporter, when you can support people in Gaza. I mean, verbally support them, spiritually support them. You're not going there to fight for them, are you? So in a way, these black supremacists are acting in a moral way, unfortunately not morally beneficial for America, contrary to the moral interests of America, but in a morally beneficial way for what they perceive, what they identify as their own tribe, radical black supremacists. More kooks. More kooks threatening violence to white people. Whoops. Where'd it go? Here it is. Let's hear what this nice gentleman has to say.
Collin County, Dallas, Texas, Arlington, Grand Prairie, Irvin, Dalworth, Plano, Denton, Keller. It ain't safe for none of you white folks to come out this weekend. I'm giving y'all a fair warning right now. And guess what? It's going to be a...
Or what? I mean, I don't think this guy's acting. I think he means it. He doesn't represent all black people, but he means it. White folks, if you don't have a gun, what are you doing? He's giving you, he says, fair warning. It's not safe for you to go outside. If you're not prepared to defend yourself, you and yours, against this kind of black supremacist violence, what are you even doing?
Bunch of niggas outside that look like me, and we ain't out there with no pocket knives. We out there with these. I guarantee y'all gonna pay for what that judge just did to Karmelo.
Who's gonna pay for what the justice system did to Karmelo? All white people? You just happen to be walking along white and you have to pay? You see how tribal and primitive this is? How savage it is? This is not first world behavior. And third world peoples cannot function in a third world society. Or to put it another way, they can only degrade that first world society down to a third world status.
If you don't believe me, bring out bold ass out this weekend.
Did you hear a chirp? Oh my God, that can't be true. That was not my button. I did not hit the button. This is my button. That's me, all right? But I think I just heard a chirp. I'm going to rewind it a little bit. Let's hear if we can listen for the chirp. I swear I'm going to put my hands up. I'm not hitting the button.
If you don't believe me, bring out bold ass out this weekend and pay for what
it was. Let's do it again. You can hear it, I swear.
Nice. We out there with these. I guarantee y'all gonna pay for what that judge just did to Karmelo. If you don't believe me, bring y'all bold ass out this weekend and put on your Austin
You can't make this shit up. They really cannot hear the ceiling birds. Oh my Lord. Oh Lord. Oh, what an Easter egg. I did not realize that was in this video. Oh my Lord. I live a blessed life. I swear. Sometimes it just doesn't feel fair. All right. We have another nice black gentleman wants to speak to the white community in a very balanced tone. Here we go. Maybe we'll hear another chirp.
Ain't no fucking judicial justice for black people. How many motherfucking decades and decades have to go by where you don't receive?
By the way, another reason I have to stop covering this stuff is because every time I put these radical black supremacists on, it's all F this, MF that, N-word this, and it's killing me in the YouTube algorithm. YouTube doesn't like that stuff. Advertisers don't want to put their soap commercial next to this guy speaking this way, and I apologize for all the profanity. It's not me saying these things, but I don't have the time to go through and pre-production bleep out all this nonsense. There's too much of it.
Ain't no fucking judicial justice for black people. How many motherfucking decades and decades have to go by where you don't receive that? Your justice is fucking frontier justice.
Frontier
they
justice.
Kill one of y'all, you kill one of them.
Which one? Any white person? You just randomly select a white person to kill?
Our toughest soldiers.
Soldiers. When he says soldiers, he means the soldiers of his black supremacist tribe, right? He doesn't mean American soldiers. He doesn't mean the U.S. military. He means their soldiers. Their, capital letters.
Ain't gonna do shit. I'm talking to you.
Every individual black person he's talking to, you got to go out there and what? Beat a white person? Kill a white person? Vengeance for Carmela? I wonder if he's Carmela yet.
Gonna do shit but kill up on your own.
You want your wife and children out like at the grocery store, at the mall, running errands in a community that has people like this in it? Imagine if your wife has a little fender bender with the kids in the car and the other driver is this dude. You think she'll get a knife to the heart like Austin Metcalf did? All right, got another one here. They're everywhere. It's so interesting. Here we have the classic tarantula hair. I wonder if that's supposed to send a message to us. Is there a pattern with this tarantula hair?
Crackers better not come in this job on no fuck shit today, because I ain't feeling that Karmelo Anthony shit. I ain't feeling that Cyrus shit. Nigga, I'm really...
I swear to God. Is he talking backwards? Is it me? I can hardly understand anything he's saying. It sounds, back in the day, they used to say it was one of the Beatles albums, right? If you played it backwards, you put it on the turntable, you turned it backwards with your finger, you'd hear satanic messages. And it sounds weird when you play a record that way. That's what this guy sounds like.
Crackers better not come in this job on no fuck shit today, because I ain't feeling that Karmelo Anthony shit. I ain't feeling that Cyrus shit. Nigga, I'm trying to stay a Christian. So
He's trying to stay a Christian.
I'm about to go all the way, boy. I'm about to go all the way Black Panther on a nigga gang. And just, nigga.
Is this a world in which a responsible white person goes out unarmed, without a gun on their person? A United States of America populated with people like this, just loose on the streets? Intent on doing you and yours violent harm? Would that be a moral decision to make? To go out into public, a public populated by people like this? Without a gun on your person?
Nigga. Crackers better not.
He said what he said. I guess that's the important thing. He said what he said. And I actually responded to this guy. I said, I'm not responding to him. I'm just, arm yourself, white people. And yet, like Dalton Etherly, like Chud the Builder, if you have to shoot somebody, you might end up locked up. You might end up facing a attempted murder or murder charge. But these black people are telling you outright that they intend to murder you because they're mad about an obvious murder conviction of a black man, and they're going to hold you accountable for that, for their dissatisfaction, for their anger, for their rage. Just one more clip because I thought it was so funny, and then I'll catch up on the super chats and such. This person was just just amazing. She's not really talking about Karmelo Anthony. I don't think she's angry. She's angry that white people are stealing, appropriating black people's culture, and it was so funny. I just had to share it. Here we go.
Everybody wants to appropriate black culture, our hair, our nails, our music, our food, everything. The way we talk, certain words. But yet the gag is y'all don't want to respect black people. And that's a problem. And if you don't think it's a problem, then you are the problem.
I didn't know that there were many people of African ethnicity who had blonde hair. Did African peoples traditionally wear this kind of makeup? Did they wear these kinds of clothes? Did they live in these kinds of dwellings? Did they speak English? It seems to me like there is a culture being appropriated, but I'm not sure it's white people appropriating black culture. It looks to me like it's black people appropriating white culture. And by the way, there's a lot of facets to black culture. This is one of them. This is another of them. I don't think most white people want to adopt a 10-fold increase in homicide rates by white people. I don't think black people would like that very much either. I'm not sure black people would like it if whites started killing blacks on parity with how blacks are killing whites. Would that be a better world? Also, she just looks like a giant Q-tip. It looks like you could go to CVS and buy a box and there'd be 20 of her, 20 of her packed in the box. I use them for cleaning firearms, but there you go. Different strokes for different folks, I suppose. All right, let me hit some of the, oh my God, we got a bunch of super chats. Okay. And I promised I would not forget the law of self-defense community. I forgot them yesterday and I feel terrible about it. This is my lawofselfdefense.com community. If you're interested in learning how to be hard to convict, if you ever have to defend yourself against criminal predation, defend yourself, your family, your property, check out lawofselfdefense.com. In fact, you know what? Let me grab my book. Hold on. We teach people. I was traveling this week, and I put my desk copy of the book in my suitcase, and I forgot to put it back on my desk. But we have a book, The Law of Self-Defense Principles, that we give away. It teaches you how to be hard to convict if you're ever compelled to defend yourself, your family, or your property. And we literally give it away. We do ask you to cover the cost of shipping, but the book itself is free. You get it at lawofselfdefense.com/free book. Scan that QR code if you prefer, but lawofselfdefense.com/free book, and we'll send you out a copy of the book for free. Learn how to be hard to convict, as the book says. Learn how to be hard to convict. So if the worst happens, you'll have the best possible legal defense. Robbie Lightspeed, $2 says, the first guy was being sarcastic, not low IQ. I don't think he was being sarcastic. I think he was being sarcastic about black people being weepy, but not violent. He wants them to be violent, but not weepy. Patricia Mansour, $5. If I get beat down, would you please defend me? Well, here's the truth, folks. That's my law practice, is as an expert on use of force law. It's a consulting practice. I don't represent clients directly, but I advise lead counsel for their clients. But I only do that for our members at lawofselfdefense.com. So if you're interested in that, you should check out lawofselfdefense.com/platinum. That's right there at the bottom of the screen, lawofselfdefense.com/platinum. If you're not a platinum member of Law of Self-Defense, I can't help you. I can't help you. It's very inexpensive. It's only about $1 a day to be a platinum member. But we get calls just about every week. People want me to consult on cases, and they're not a platinum member. So we can't do it. So if you're interested in having me available to consult on your case, should the worst happen, you should become a platinum member. And you get lots of other stuff, lots of videos, lots of blog content, lots of legal analysis. That's only for the Law of Self-Defense membership. So maybe check that out. At the very least, get the book. Can't make it cheaper than free. Arian the Vegetarian, one of my favorite handles. Is that statistic based on convictions? If yes, isn't that the circular reasoning fallacy? Do plea deals contribute to the number in that statistics? Well, why would a plea is guilty? If you plead a murder, who pleads to murder, by the way? So you're not going to see a lot of pleas to murder. You plead to get down from the maximum offense, and the maximum offense is generally murder. So you don't see a lot of inflation of murder statistics because of plea deals. Jim tells you $20. Says, so Jack Lang was arrested and held on $1 million bond for terroristic threats for saying if the justice system doesn't hold Karmelo responsible, he will personally. When will we see any of these people arrested and charged? Yeah, they're all saying basically the same things, right? They're all these black people I've been showing you. Not all black people, by the way. I'm going to show you a lot of good black people today, too. But they're all making terroristic threats, right? The use of violence for political purposes. That's what terrorism is. And it doesn't surprise me that Jack Lang is saying controversial things that could be interpreted as a terroristic threat, but it's a fair question. If he's being held, a white guy, Jack Lang, if he's being held to that standard, you say those things, you say you'll take violence, justice into your own hands. If the system doesn't give you an answer that you like, then why aren't these black people who are doing the same thing? New member, Alex, thank you very much. Welcome to the family. And Nikta Dikta has been a member for a month. Happy anniversary to Nikta. Citizen E22, $5. The chirp should go viral. This chirp. One of my favorite sound effects. Michael Beale, $2. The familiar song of the ghetto nightingale. Raymond Huffman, $2. Bongo drums or something. Not retard adjacent, member for 9 months. Do you have any suggestions on a good handgun to carry? We're blessed. We live in an area where we are blessed with good concealed carry handguns. It's such a personal decision because different guns fit different hands better. So I will say, if I just have to give a blanket recommendation, it's very difficult to go wrong with a Glock pistol. It's just hard to go wrong. Now, they're probably not the best pistol for most people, but they're good enough for most people, and they're extremely reliable. After that, there's lots of different flavors of guns. I often carry a P365 XL from SIG, and I've had no trouble with it. I've got thousands of rounds through that pistol, and I've never had an issue with it. But I wouldn't buy it like a SIG 320. Do they still sell the 320s? I own a bunch of 320s that I bought before there came credible evidence that they're unsafe. So I wouldn't buy that one. I personally would never buy a SIG product again. I carry the SIG 365 XL I already have, but if I were buying today, I would not buy a SIG. I just don't trust that company anymore. But there's always Glock. There's lots of options out there. I'm sure the chat's about to fill up. There's the Smith & Wesson Shields. There's the Walthers. There's all kinds of options. I would go to a gun store that has rentals, so you can rent the guns and try them out and see how you like them. Raymond Huffman, cars are white culture. It's all white culture. Soledad Nefesh, new member. Thank you very much, Soledad. That's very kind. I had promised to look at the law of self-defense membership. Here we go. I got it back up now. I got distracted by talking about platinum. Again, that's at lawofselfdefense.com. Free book /free book for the free book. Let's see. I felt terrible yesterday. I did a 2.5-hour show and I forgot to go to the membership to see their comments. Dave says, Alito is no Thomas, but he's good nevertheless. Yeah, Alito's, I concur. He's good. He's just no Thomas. They're talking about this, of course, when I put that up. My dream Supreme Court. What if Alito identified as Thomas? Some have asserted that Thomas is white under all that wonderful black skin. Well, Thomas is he's a first world American citizen. He's not a third worlder by temperament, and he's not a progressive fascist like Kagan, and he's not third world in temperament like Justice Sonia, the wise Latina, self-identifies wise Latina DEI Sotomayor, and Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. Ketanji. Traditional American name. Dave says, my Trump mug will be here later today, and I have some Bucaramanga coffee waiting to fill it. Of course, he's talking about this mug, the Trump $250 note mug we put out just for Father's Day. The link for the mug is in the description, or you can just scan that QR code there with your phone. Jeffrey says the Anthony family has financially benefited. They were not legally lynched. $600K in donations and still needed a public defender. It certainly looks like the mother got a nose job. Bought a couple Escalades, living in a nice suburban gated community they moved into. Let's see. Jeffrey, question, do they ever find the leaker in the Dobbs decision? If they do, what, if any, is the penalty? Disbarment? I imagine they know who it is, but they don't want to talk about it because they don't want to hold anybody accountable. Let's see. Jeffrey says, if the race of jury members matters, then different races stand for different things. Then it follows a company can exclude a race from employment because that race doesn't fit the culture. Look at Japan's immigration laws, for example. Yeah, I mean, the dream for America was a race-blind society where everyone essentially holds the same American values and social norms. Because unless you have a cohesive culture, you can't have a jury system. You can't have a jury system where, depending on the ethnicity of the person, you get a different result. It just doesn't work. In a multicultural environment, you can't have these kinds of criminal liability or even civil liability decisions being made by people who decide on race. So either everyone eligible for jury duty has to be of the same kind of homogenous American culture, or you have to do away with juries. And then what are you left with? Crazy judges ruling? The problem, of course, is the multi-ethnic, multicultural perspective. It's a cancer within the American body politic. Let's see. Jeffrey says the book is worth the cost of shipping. Don't believe me, believe Massad Ayub. Massad actually wrote the foreword to the book. Massad Ayub, a very famous self-defense instructor, really an intellect in the space of self-defense. And Dave says the best gun in the world is the one that works with your physical ability. So take any given pistol, grip it correctly, close your eyes. Yeah, okay, I don't want to get into a firearms training session here, but it's not bad advice. Super chats, not retarded Jason, $5 said, I should have been more specific. A woman with small hands. I'm sorry, guys. I read a lot of these, and it's hard for me to keep individual threads in my head. Mitch Marco, $5. That clearance pick needs to be a mug with the other side having the justices' nicknames. The clearance pick. I don't know which one that is. There's only so many letters I can put on a mug, and it's still legible. But I'm always open to suggestions for mugs. This is the June mug. July, we're going to have another mug. So any suggestions are always appreciated. We got a bunch of Rumble rants. Let me hit some of these. Gito, 463, $5. If I ever go to court, I only want fat, middle-aged white guys on my jury. People who look like me. We say a jury of your peers. And in America, it doesn't really mean peers. It just means, citizens in the community who are eligible for jury service, which is, non-felons, things like that. But the concept of a jury of your peers literally meant peers. It's derived from a privilege of members of the House of Lords in Britain. They could elect to be tried by a jury of other members of the House of Lords, of the peerage. That's where the expression comes from. Not by common folk, but by other lords. The Klaxon says, this is finally billing to the point the communist left wants. The years of brainwashing are taking hold. We almost had it defeated until Obama fully resurrected it, and then they ratcheted it up since. Yeah, I agree with that. Very common in America in terms of racial animosity. And he flipped the switch. $10 Rumble rant from Jung List. I love the show. Thanks for the laughs and honest commentary. God bless. God bless you too, my friend. God bless you as well. And another Bruce Wayne. Hey, Bruce Wayne. Nice to meet you at last. $2. They should speak Swahili instead of English. Culturally appropriating English. What a weird thing to do. What a weird thing to do. All right, let's get back to my tabs here. More angry black people. I think I still have more angry black people. Oh, this guy. So this is another way. These poor people, they get brainwashed with these lies. And sometimes, there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. I swear to God, if anybody ever figures out how to explain per capita to these black supremacists, they will win the Nobel Prize in black psychiatry. They just cannot do it. They can't. It's like the how would you feel right now if you didn't have breakfast this morning question. It's like an instant IQ test. All they can figure out is absolute numbers sometimes. But once you go per capita, it's like, what? What are you talking about? That's not a thing. It's like that scene from one of my favorite movies. There's Something About Mary. Remember that movie? There's a scene where the lead, I don't remember his name. He picks up a hitchhiker. The hitchhiker is talking about how he's going to make millions of dollars from this exercise video, 7-minute abs, how to have great abs, a six-pack in 7 minutes. And the lead says, well, even more compelling would be if you made it 6 minutes. And the hitchhiker's like, his brain can't process. No, it's 7 minutes. It has to be 7 minutes. He just can't process the concept. A lot of these black people are like this too. And this guy's going to talk. He's going to make a claim that, you white people should not be so self-satisfied with yourself because you all grape children and get away with it. Like white people are the big pedos. That's the claim he wishes to make here.
It must be nice to be a white boy.
Look. It's so pathetic.
It must be nice to be a white boy. You can gang up on a nigga that's your brother, and your brother go down, and then that nigga going to jail. It must be nice to be a white boy. You can goddamn nuke a whole damn country, and everybody's gonna applaud you and say good shit right there, and that country gonna hate niggas somehow. I don't even know how that makes sense. It must be nice to be...
He doesn't know how it makes sense. America can nuke Japan, he's talking about. We nuke Japan. And yet Japan likes white people more than it likes black people. And it's just such an example. First of all, we did a lot more. They say you bombed Japan twice. It's like, no, we bombed Japan thousands and thousands of times. We had a list of the 100 largest Japanese cities, and we were not nukes, firebombing them. One after another, after another, after another. Every night we were firebombing another one into extinction. 1,000-flight bomber formations, dropping incendiaries and high explosives and burning these Japanese cities to the ground. We had a list of 100. We were just working our way down the list long before we had the atomic bomb ready to go. And then we dropped the 2 nukes on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and finally Japan bent the knee. But we were doing a lot more. I would argue that many of those fire bombings were actually more destructive than the nuclear bombs. But we nuked Japan twice and all those fire bombings. And yet Japan welcomes white people and doesn't like black people very much. And if this person had any introspection at all, instead of just stating that in a conclusory way and saying, I don't get it, you might ask yourself, why? Why do the Japanese feel that way? Why are they more amenable to white Americans whose ancestors, whose forefathers nuked our nation than they are to black people? Why would that be? And any thoughts about that? Any introspection at all? Is there anything that could have, driven that kind of attitude? Might there be a reason-based answer to that question? Or is it's simply indecipherable? Indecipherable how the Japanese could feel that way about black people.
White boy, you can goddamn own a whole island where you're trafficking children and girls and raping them and assaulting them.
Because that's white people, right? How's your island doing, fellow white people? How's your Grape Island doing? Your Epstein Island. We all have our own Epstein Island, right?
And killing them, eating babies. And you can get away with it. And you
eating
can be the
babies?
best friend of that motherfucker and become the president. It must be nice to be a white boy. You can be walking in the middle of the night and you can kill a young black boy because he got some damn Skittles and get away with that shit. It must be nice.
Oh, that's Trayvon Martin reference. I wonder if he can't remember the name.
To be a white boy, you can goddamn look at a young boy who's 12 years old and goddamn shoot him because you thought he had a little pew-pew and it's just a water gun.
Now he's talking about Tamir Rice. We're going to talk about all these cases in just a minute.
It must be nice to be a white boy where you can sit there and have your knee on the neck of a black man.
Derek Chauvin, of course, who had the misfortune of having a lifelong drug addict overdose under his knee.
And kill him and still have people riding for you saying, free that man. What? It must be nice, boy. I tell you what, you white boys got it really goddamn good. Y'all in charge of everything, the whole administration.
We got it good. Did you know that? We white boys have it good. We have it good. It's unbelievable how good we have it. It's really remarkable. Living the dream.
Administration's white boys. With the exception of Cash Patel, that want to be a white boy. Oh, man. Y'all in power. You got the money. You got everything. And still be bitching the most. Crazy.
I wonder what we have to complain about. It seems weird that we would be complaining, right? We're only being subject to black violence at almost 50 times the rate that blacks are subject to white violence. We're only being subject to homicides by black people at 8 to 10 times the rate that white people commit murders. Black women are murdering people at a higher rate than white men are. I wonder what we have to complain about. It's so weird. And as for his sex offender stuff, this is the per capita stuff, right? He's saying, oh, all those white people. I get accused of this all the time. All you white people, you're the ones who do all the bad things to children. And in a sense, an idiotic sense, they're right. If you look at who's on the sex offender registrations, there's a lot more white people. 615,000 white people. 140,000 black people. And the black people look at that and they're like, oh yeah, no, the whites are the ones who are really dangerous with children. But of course, it ignores per capita. It ignores the fact that there are way more white people in the population. When you look at this statistic per capita, and I just asked Grok yesterday, what are the comparative rates per 100,000 population of white and black persons registered on sex offender lists? And black people are listed at twice the rate of white people. 501 compared to 238, more than twice the rate. So this graph changes from this, and when you look at actual risk, the probability that a black or white person will do something bad to a child, it's black people who are more than twice as likely to be child predators as white people. I don't think I could explain this to this guy because I don't think it's possible for me to explain per capita to him or To put it more accurately, I'm not sure he's capable of understanding per capita. And by the way, this is the data that we have when it's been completely, can I call it whitewashed? There are thousands of people on the sex offender list who are listed in this white category on the right, and this is what they look like. Every one of these people is a listed sex offender, and they're listed as white. Every one of them. Every one of these people is a registered sex offender, and they're listed as white. Every one of these people is a registered sex offender, and they're listed as white. And these are all different states. This is New Jersey, the first one I showed you. This is New York. This is Tennessee and Texas. This mislabeling of black sexual child predators as being white is endemic across all these statistics. What do you think this chart would look like if the stats were legitimate? If we didn't have this mislabeling, I expect the white column would almost disappear. But they believe these lies. They can't help themselves. They just can't help themselves. Couple super chats while I set up the new tabs, and oops, I lost it. The mugs. Remember, it takes about a week. It takes about a week for the mug to get to you. Father's Day is a week from this Sunday. Today's Thursday. So time is running short, folks. You want to get your dad this mug or a T-shirt with this on it or a coaster or a koozie or a tumbler. Travel mugs, we have travel mugs too. Just scan that QR code or go to the link in the pinned comment and you'll see everything we have to offer with the Trump mugshot mug. $250 note mugshot mug on it. Citizen E22, $5 says, was looking at that rank graph and find it wild that Asians rank blacks higher than whites. I don't think they really do. I think they just feel socially obliged to say that. And unfortunately, another problem we have is we never know what they're talking about when they say Asians, right? Because when I say Asians, what I think in my head is Japanese, Koreans. But the Indians, in an effort to whitewash their ethnic classification, they don't want to be classified as independent Indians because that's not a good look. They call themselves Southern Indians and Southern Asians, South Asians. Is there anything? Is there any connection? Any similarity between a Japanese person and an Indian person? Could they not be more different? It's unbelievable. But unfortunately, because we conflate Indian with Asian, a lot of the Asian statistics, it's very difficult to know what you're actually talking about there. Indians would certainly, they're very jealous of white people, and so they would. I would expect they would definitely rank them lowest. Carson Maths, $5 says, but what about my white privilege? Wept Austin Metcalf, as he held his dying brother. I loathe these arguments people make. His white privilege to get stabbed in the heart. Blue Curtain Burner, member for 5 months. Thank you, man. Yeah. Doesn't help that on most of those reports, the black people are listed as white people. Yeah, I just covered that. Let's see, what did I do with... Here it is. Take a look at law of self-defense 2. Dave said blacks get their per capita from television programming, which is 95% of the population. Makes them look like blacks are 95% of the population. There's a lot of truth to that. Let's see. All right. Next. More of the lies and more of the use of force stuff I want to get into with all of you here. This is the kind of nonsense I'm saying. Karmelo Anthony has received more time, 35 years, than George Zimmerman, who got no time, than Daniel Penny, who took down Jordan Neely in the subway car in New York City, got no time. Derek Chauvin got 22 years. Amber Geiger, so Derek Chauvin, of course, was George Floyd. Amber Geiger walked into the wrong apartment, thought it was hers, and came across a black gentleman whose apartment it was, and she was a cop. So she had a gun, she shot him. 10 years for manslaughter. Rick Chow, no time. So Anthony got more time, 35 years, than all of those people combined. This is unacceptable to any sane, thinking, not racist person. Is it? Is this a sane, reasoned, non-racist analysis? I responded to this one. I wrote, yeah, a non-idiot would understand why what you appear unable to grasp is simplicity itself. Karmelo Anthony, a demon walking upon our earth in human form, was convicted of intentionally murdering Austin Murphy. Sorry, should read Austin Metcalf. That's why he got 35 years. Intentional murder. George Zimmerman committed no crime. He was acquitted of all charges, so of course, no sentence. Daniel Penny committed no crime, acquitted of all charges, so of course, no sentence. Derek Chauvin was not charged or convicted of an intentional murder. It was an unintentional homicide. In any case, his conviction was unjust. Amber Geiger was not charged or convicted of an intentional murder. It was a manslaughter, an unintentional or reckless homicide. In any case, that was an unjust conviction too. Rick Chow, which just went down a couple weeks ago, the Asian convenience store owner, also didn't get any time because, well, that's not true, actually. Rick Chow got time. He committed no crime. He was acquitted of all charges. He actually served 3 years in jail. Another take on this doesn't focus on the defendants. It focuses on their purported victims. This Nay person is actually a law school student, black woman who's a student in law school. Pronouns in bio, if I remember correctly. Yep, she, her, down in Miami. Juris Doctor candidate. Whoops. Hold on a second. I lost my, there we go. And she's like, oh, let's look at all these poor black victims. Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman was acquitted. Tamir Rice. And I'm going to talk through these, what they are, if you don't remember. No indictment. Michael Brown, no indictment. Philando Castile, the officer was acquitted. Freddie Gray, officer acquitted or charges dropped. Terrence Crutcher, officer acquitted. Sylville Smith, officer acquitted. Rick Chow, found not guilty after shooting a 14-year-old black boy in the back in South Carolina. And it's a mystery to her. The reason these people were not convicted and sentenced must be racism. It has to be racism. All these poor black boys, it must be racism. Well, let's take a look, shall we? Genius. Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman was acquitted. George Zimmerman went to trial on a charge of malice murder. Here's what he looked like at the scene. Trayvon Martin was trying to murder him, to beat his head through a sidewalk. Those are pictures of George Zimmerman's face. His nose is broken sideways on his face. The back of his head was against the sidewalk, so every punch was actually 2 blows. The punch to the front of his face, with Trayvon Martin mounted on top of him, pinning him to the ground, and then the blow of the back of his head against the sidewalk. George Zimmerman's face and the back of his head immediately after Trayvon Martin stopped trying to beat Zimmerman to death by beating Zimmerman's skull through a concrete sidewalk, Trayvon Martin was stopped only because of a 9mm round shot by Zimmerman through Martin's demonic little heart, murderous little heart. Zimmerman's nose was broken sideways on his face. By the way, when the media printed these photos for the public, did you know they printed them in black and white? So you wouldn't know what you were seeing was blood? Contemptible. Eyewitness testimony described Trayvon Martin mounted on top of a fallen Zimmerman, beating him viciously. The witness testified, MMA ground and pound style. testified Zimmerman was screaming for his life, for help that never came. A world-class medical examiner in the trial testified that the beating was absolutely likely to inflict death or serious bodily injury. That makes it a deadly force attack, justifying Zimmerman's deadly force defense. Did Karmelo Anthony suffer a beating like this or anything? Every witness testifying to the contact of Austin Metcalf to Karmelo characterized it as a soft push, and they were not in the dark alone. They were surrounded by dozens of people, including many black people. We're supposed to believe that Karmelo Anthony had a reasonable belief that Austin Metcalf and Hunter Metcalf were going to be allowed to beat him to death in front of all those black people? What about Tamir Rice? Tamir Rice was a 12-year-old in Cleveland, shot dead by police. And you might be thinking to yourself, oh my God, how could police officers do that? And there wasn't even an indictment? They shot a 12-year-old black boy, a little child? Well, let's look at the facts of that case. Police were called by black residents to a park in Cleveland. That's where the officers approached Tamir Rice. Tamir Rice was 12 years old. He also weighed 195 pounds. That's not a typo. That's from the autopsy. 195 pounds. And the black residents of the community called police because Tamir Rice, weighing 195 pounds, was walking around the park, approaching the black residents and pointing an apparent gun at them. Now, the gun would later turn out to be a facsimile, but here's a picture of the gun. So the police go to the park and they approach Tamir Rice, and Tamir Rice has this gun visible in his waistband. The only part of the gun that would have been visible would have been the grip. And as the police approach Tamir Rice, he reaches for this gun in his waistband. So, of course, they shoot him. Now, it would later turn out to be a facsimile, like a BB gun. But, of course, you don't know that when you're walking up and someone's reaching for a gun. The 12-year-old who weighs 195 pounds. I mean, you have a split second to decide. Is it real or is it a BB gun? And you are allowed to defend yourself against the appearance of danger. You don't have to be correct. You have to have a reasonable belief you're facing a deadly force threat. Here's the Cleveland police chief commenting on this case.
The facsimile weapon in this incident is indistinguishable from a real firearm. The facsimile weapon,
my friends, that is why there was no indictment in that case. Not because everyone's racist, because the black police chief of Cleveland is a racist. What about Sylville Smith? Officer acquitted, so he was indicted and taken to trial and put before a jury. And they refused to convict him. You know who Sylville Smith was? A young black man in a stolen car, got pulled over by police, fled on foot rather than comply with the stop because he knew he was caught in a stolen car. He's running on foot. The police are chasing him on foot. He's approaching a fence he's going to try to jump over, a 3-foot-high fence, and he drops his gun, the gun in his hand. He bends over while police are right behind him. He bends over and picks it up and starts raising the gun. And shockingly, the police shoot him. That officer was prosecuted, put before a jury, and acquitted. But look at the body-worn camera video of this event. You can clearly see he had a gun in his hand. There's no audio. There he is, takes off running. Cops chase him. We'll see it in slow-mo, too. There are the cops. There's him. Oh, did you see it? Did you see it? We're going to see it now in slow motion. The critical portion. 20% speed. The chase. He fell, dropped his gun, gets up. He's got the gun in his hand, right there. Now, it ended up going over the fence. But the cops don't know he's going to throw it over the fence and not shoot them. He could have just stood up and put his hands up. That's why this kid got shot, not because of racism. I swear to God, the best thing Black Lives Matter ever did for police was demand that they wear body-worn cameras. No question about that. What about all these other cases? I'll just summarize them. Michael Brown, you remember him? Hands up, don't shoot. He'd been told by a police officer in a patrol car to get off the street. He was just walking down the middle of the street. So he reached in the police car and tried to seize that officer's service pistol, fought the officer over his gun. The gun discharged inside the police car, caused a minor injury to Michael Brown. His blood was found inside the police car. So we know the fight happened. And then Michael Brown took off and the police chased him. And when Michael Brown realized Michael Brown was a giant. They called him the gentle giant. He was a thief, a robber, but the gentle giant, they called him. When he realized he was not going to outrun this much more fit officer, he turned around and charged the officer like a bull with his hands outstretched. And that's when he was fatally shot by the officer. All this was put before a grand jury in Ferguson, Missouri, and they refused to indict that officer. That was obviously a lawful shooting. Philando Castile. This was probably an awful but lawful shooting. It probably didn't need to happen. Castile was in a car. He was the passenger. Car gets pulled over. Officer is talking to them. Castile says, "Hey, I've got a gun, but I've got a permit." And the officer's like, "Okay, that's fine. Let's not worry about that." But then Castile, probably going to retrieve his permit, starts reaching in various cubbies of the car. And the officer, having now just been informed that he has a gun, what's the officer thinking about? I don't want any problems with that gun. And he starts shouting at Philando Castile, stop reaching, stop reaching, stop reaching. What's the officer concerned about? That Philando Castile is going to come up with a gun. Who knows if he really has a permit? We know he has a gun because he said so, and that's what could kill the officer. So the officer ends up shooting Philando Castile because Philando Castile would not just stop. Engaging in what a reasonable officer would see as life-threatening behavior. I've been pulled over by the police while carrying a gun. You know what I don't do? I don't start moving my hands around in places the cops can't see it. Freddie Gray in Baltimore. He was a street corner drug dealer. He got picked up in a sweep that was ordered by the local state's attorney, Marilyn Mosby, a black woman. She ordered that sweep because her husband, a black man, was the local politician in that district. And the residents were complaining about the open-air drug market. So he asked his wife, State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby, to tell the cops to do a sweep. So the cops go in, they do a sweep. They grab Freddie Gray. They have to chase him, they tackle him, they handcuff him, and they put him in the back of a police van. He's perfectly healthy when he goes into the back of that van. When the van gets to its destination, they open up the door, and Freddie Gray has a broken neck. And the medical examiner says, well, he was in the van. His handcuffs were cuffed behind his back. It looks like the neck injury looks most like a shallow diving type of injury. So it would be reasonable to infer that while he was in the van, he stood up, he's not supposed to, stood up off the bench, and then the van stopped for a stoplight or a stop sign or whatever, and his momentum continued with his hands behind his back, his head drove into the forward bulkhead, and that's how his neck was injured. Unfortunate, but not a function of malice by the police officers. There was zero evidence that any officer had done anything to injure Freddie Gray. But because the community was angry about this, and Marilyn Mosby knew that this sweep had happened because she'd asked for it at her husband's request, she made up a story. She said, well, the police department didn't find that anything was done wrong, but I had my own investigators from the prosecutor's office do their own examination, and we think we have evidence of murder. So she charged half a dozen of these officers involved in Freddie Gray's arrest, half of whom were black, charged them with crimes as serious as murder. Now, later, it would turn out it was a lie. She never ran an independent investigation. She made these charges up. But these officers were put at risk of trial and life in prison. And because there was no evidence they had ever done anything wrong, they were all acquitted or their charges dismissed. Not out of racism. By the way, the judge who dismissed the charges was black. Terrence Crutcher, officer, acquitted. Terrence Crutcher, an officer, a woman officer. Unfortunately, a woman officer by herself on patrol at night comes across an SUV that's on a 2-lane road, 1 lane each way, divider, painted divider in the middle, and it's angled across both lanes. No explanation. And so she approaches in the middle of the night and she meets Terrence Crutcher, a very large black man. And she's asking him questions. Do you need help? What's going on? And he's completely non-responsive, won't answer her. And then he's standing outside his vehicle, and he starts reaching through the open window of his vehicle. And she says, don't do that. What is she afraid of? She's afraid he's reaching for a weapon. She draws her gun. Don't do that. And he keeps reaching through the window, and ultimately she shoots him and kills him. For racism, or because he continued to engage in conduct that a reasonable officer would perceive as life-threatening. And of course, we already covered Sylville Smith. Rick Chow, the Asian running the convenience store, found not guilty after shooting 14-year-old Cyrus Carmack Belton, young black boy. Why did Rick Chow shoot him? She doesn't say. Rick Chow shot 14-year-old Cyrus Carmack Belton because Cyrus Carmack Belton was pointing a 9mm pistol at Rick Chow's son without any legal justification. So he got acquitted. And people say, well, look at this. Rick Chow's case took 3 years. Karmelo Anthony's case was only 14 months. So that must be racist too. Look how much time they put into Rick Chow's case. And they only put 14 months into Karmelo Anthony's case. I mean, the idiocy and gall of these people, because that 3 years, remember, Rick Chow was acquitted. So he literally did not commit a crime. But that 3 years, he was in jail. Rick Chow was in jail. For 3 years, the innocent Rick Chow sat in jail. He effectively served a 3-year jail sentence for nothing. Locked away from his family, from birthdays, from holidays, from vacations, from simple daily contact with his family. For 3 years, for nothing. By the way, it's not like he couldn't raise the money to make bail. The judge denied him any bail. Whereas with Karmelo Anthony, for 14 months, the guilty, the murderer, Karmelo Anthony, was out on bond, attending graduation, going on vacations, playing video games with his friends and family, holidays at home, and Karmelo murdered someone. So where's the racism exactly? I'm afraid I don't quite see it. Let me catch up on some of the super chats and Rumble rants. And then we'll get to Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett has thoughts on all the things that we, of course, have to hear about. Truman, HW, $5. They claimed 55% of hate incidents are by whites. But when you filter for violent felonies, it drops to 10%. And that they still count Hispanics as whites in those statistics. It's lies, damn lies, and statistics. Jeffrey Brown, a new member. Thank you very much, Jeffrey, for joining the family. I appreciate that. Another new member, Puchak. J6 2.0, $5, says, let's not get ahead of ourselves, Branca. You first have to explain to them what statistics is before you can get to per capita. An almost impossible feat. So I did my graduate work in the biological sciences, molecular biology, virology, immunology, epidemiology, a lot else at Harvard. And of course, you're taking these were graduate level courses at Harvard. You have to take statistics to do scientific research. And I had taken statistics as an undergrad, but Harvard mandated, now that you're in the graduate program, you got to take it again. And the person teaching the statistics class was a black gentleman. And he was completely inept. And I knew he was inept because I had taken basically the same statistics course before. And he couldn't get anything right. It was literally torture to have to go into that class every week and listen to this guy teach. I don't know what he was teaching. Black statistics? It was absolutely insane. And this was at Harvard. That's what affirmative action gets you. $2, Raymond Huffman. 195 pounds with no blood fat. Man, there's a picture I saw at the time. This is Tamir Rice, the 12-year-old who weighed 195 pounds and reached for a gun when approached by police, an apparent gun. There's a photo I had, and I've lost it. I've never been able to find it. It's his mom is photographed for the news, and she's holding up, like she's doing laundry, and she's holding up a pair of this 12-year-old's jeans. And she's a big lady herself. And Tamir Rice's jeans are about this wide. I mean, it looked like the sail of a ship. It was unbelievable. Bald Eagle, $5. The fact that Eric Holder and the weaponized FBI under Obama backed the story of Michael Brown trying to take the gun should have laid it to rest. Yeah, most of those cases I just covered, if they happened during the Obama era, they were investigated by Eric Holder's Department of Justice and FBI because they would bring, federal civil rights charges, even if there was a state acquittal. But generally, they were never able to find anything, a hook on which to hang civil rights charges. They sent dozens of FBI agents to George Zimmerman's apartment complex to interview everybody, because there was quite a number of black residents there, to see if any of the black residents would say anything negative about Zimmerman from a racial perspective. And they all loved Zimmerman. One of them testified at trial. The only black resident from the apartment complex called to testify at Zimmerman's trial was called by the defense. An older black woman, and she took the witness stand, and she testified she loved George Zimmerman. He would help her carry in groceries, all kinds of stuff. The state was not able to, and the Eric Holder Department of Justice was never able to find a single black person who'd had an interaction with Zimmerman that was negative. Well, I guess except for Trayvon Martin, in fairness. But that's Trayvon Martin's fault. Puchak, PLN, $25. Dear Andrew, can you unblock me? Unblock me. You mean on X? So I'm pretty aggressive about blocking on X because a lot of accounts are just kind of, I call them denial of service accounts. They're just there to waste your time. But if I've blocked you and you think maybe it was a misunderstanding or something, let me know and I'll unblock you. I have to say, if I've blocked you twice, if I have to block you twice, it's only a one-time amnesty. Here it is. Sure enough, you're blocked. Okay, you're unblocked now. There you go. PLN 25. What currency is that? Polish. What's it add up to? What are 25 of those? $7. Well, I appreciate it, man. And you are now unblocked. I like Poland. I was in Poland on a motorcycle trip a couple years ago. I went to Krakow, among other places, and it was great. I loved it. It was beautiful. Beautiful girls there too. Any gentleman looking for an attractive white girl? There were quite a lot of them in Poland. Niall, $5. Fun fact, Danielle Grant was also 195 pounds. I'm just going to have to leave this up permanently. You guys always bring her up. Danielle Grant, of course, was the, I want to say she's a young woman who was interviewed when the food stamps were being suspended. And things looked grim. Things looked grim for Danielle. Literally, she was starving. That's what the news media said. And if you haven't seen her before, this is her.
It's really bad. Danielle Grant is starving. No, I'm trying to see if I can get some food.
She's trying to see if she can get some food. Man, if there was a food shortage, I'm following Danielle Grant home. I know where the food is. I don't have any doubts about where the food is. And David Jack gifted five memberships. Thank you so much, my friend. That's so generous. I really appreciate that. Let's get some Rumble rants in here. Jonah Thim. Blacktivists are assivists in racivism. That's hard to say. They can make things up. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff being made up, for sure. Cam Flores, I just came back from Japan, 4th visit, and as an American of Mexican heritage, I was very comfortable in Japan. Safe and clean. I was going to say I love Japan. I've only ever been to Tokyo, so it's not like I've traveled Japan. But I've been to Tokyo multiple times, and I love it there. I really do. The food is amazing. The people are polite and courteous. Everything is clean and safe. The city's gorgeous. I would, if you've never been to Japan and you want to travel, I would go to Japan today before I'd go to London, before I'd go to Paris, before I'd go to any major city in Western Europe that's been inundated with third world migrants. I would definitely pick Tokyo over that. Eastern Europe is still good. When I did that motorcycle trip in Poland, it was all over Eastern Europe, and it was gorgeous. All of it was really nice. But I wouldn't go to Western Europe today. You'll just be disappointed. J.S. Rowe, $5. Thank you, my friend. Says, must be nice to be a white boy paying 40% of my income to Section 8, SNAP, Medicaid, welfare, to the 13% cows. Not like I went to a doctoral program for 7 years for the benefit of the able-bodied adults. Yeah, the only net taxpayers in America are white people and Asians. That's it. Everybody else is a taker, statistically speaking. So it would be a different nation, wouldn't it, if voting was contingent on being a net contributor to the public treasury, as opposed to a net taker from the public treasury. All right, let's get to Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett tells the media there was one major factor in the Karmelo Anthony verdict. I wonder what that one major factor, I wonder if it was guilt. Could it have been guilt?
Rep Crockett, you might have seen that Karmelo Anthony was sentenced to 35 years. I want to get your reaction to the...
By the way, talking about cultural appropriation, look at that traditional American hair. Traditional African hair.
Trial and the verdict.
My heart breaks for so many reasons. And so I was just speaking to a student that is shadowing me who wants to be a public defender. And so it takes me back to what actually...
It'd be another black lawyer. Some of them are excellent. Sean Kent in the Rick Chow trial was excellent.
Actually made me decide to get into this legislative work in the first place, because I know that our systems are broken. And what we
By
saw...
the way, she's saying all this knowing that she's out of a job. Her district was eliminated when Texas redid their congressional districts. Hers is gone. So she's going to finish this term, and then she doesn't have a district to run in.
With that verdict is the evidence of a broken system. Now listen, from everything that I understand, which I wasn't at the trial because obviously I got a day job, but it's my understanding that Karmelo ended up stabbing, puncturing, I don't know what this tool was that they talk about, knife, or some refer to it as a tool.
A tool. She doesn't know what it is. She knows it killed Austin Metcalf. She doesn't know what it is. Well, I can help you out there. And this is it. This is the actual knife that was used. Or at least representative of the actual knife. It was the same thing as this. By the way, folks, gentlemen, for those of you who have the resources to indulge perhaps in carrying for personal protection a high-priced pistol, it's not that hard to hit $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 with some of these custom pistols. The person trying to kill you might be using this. This is a $13 folding knife from Walmart. We're all just a box cutter away from being killed.
He ended up hitting Austin one time.
And
it was about where he hit him. One time, 2 inches. This wasn't someone who said...
One time, 2 inches? That sounds like a bad date. It's not a big deal. It's not that big a deal. He only hit him, maybe it was a tool. I don't know. Only hit him one time, 2 inches.
hey, let me stab you 5, 6, 7 times. And so when you're looking at the punishment range,
Because then Austin Metcalf would have been more dead, more dead if he'd been stabbed more times.
there's a reason in Texas that it goes from 5 to 99 or life, because you are looking at how intentional, like how bad was this?
Right, and who makes that decision in Texas? Well, if the defendant elects the jury to make the decision, the jury makes the decision. And that's what Karmelo Anthony chose, to have the jury sentence him. The jury didn't go for 5 years. They didn't go for 10. They didn't go for 20. They didn't go for 30. They went for 35 years. That's how we arrive at that. By the way, I mentioned all these lies. Lies were told about all these cases. People calling this a multi-tool, a multi-function tool. it's just a folding knife with a little flashlight and a seatbelt cutter. But there was a pretty profound lie told by, not the state, by the defense. Mike Howard, lead attorney for Karmelo Anthony. Throughout the trial, he described Karmelo Anthony as facing 10 pound, 220 pound, Austin Metcalf, Hunter Metcalf, and this poor Karmelo Anthony, he only weighed 130 pounds. Now, 130 pounds is not very big for a 17-year-old. I mean, let's face it, 12-year-old Tamir Rice was 195 pounds, all by himself. And this poor Karmelo Anthony, he only weighed 130 pounds. Well, it's a lie. It's a lie, because we actually have the jail records for Karmelo Anthony, both from when he was first arrested, he's got the tarantula hair, and from when he was just booked again, when he's got the short haircut he adopted for the trial. And I know you can't read that, so I made a bigger version. He was just shy of 160 pounds, not 130 pounds. And of course, Mike Howard, his lawyer, had to know this. And he lied. He lied to the faces of the jury. He lied to the court. He lied to the American public. Observing this trial, 130 pounds, my ass. This is another funny part of Jasmine Crockett. She likes to talk ghetto. If you've only ever heard her talk in recent years, you would think this is just her default, her normal means of talking. She talks ghetto. Let's give it a listen.
Black women, especially Black women who have Black male children, live in fear and agony every single day.
Fear and agony.
Fear and agony that I promise you, the Metcalfs probably never spent a day living that way.
Living that way. No, you don't think the Metcalfs spend a day living in fear and agony? So the Black women with adult male sons are living in fear and agony that their son might be murdered. The Metcalfs are living in a world in which their son has been murdered. But our sympathy should be with the Black families who merely have a speculative fear of the death of their son. That's the wisdom of Jasmine Crockett. And I want to give a shout out here to Redheaded Libertarian. She's covered Jasmine quite a bit. Jasmine Crockett is not ghetto. Jasmine Crockett grew up in the suburbs. Both parents, two-family household, went to a $30,000 a year private high school, joined a sorority, went to grad school, pretends she's hood, and fakes her low-class accent. In reality, she speaks perfectly normal English. And we know this because we have clips of her being interviewed in other settings. And the Redheaded Libertarian put this together where she shows Jasmine Crockett speaking normal English, and then another clip of Jasmine Crockett speaking ghetto. It's all fake. It's all a lie. And of course, even when she's speaking normal English, she still has the traditional African hairstyle, appropriating African culture, apparently.
In my mind, I'm thinking, I just got to Austin and I had to beat 5 people to get here.
Normal English.
I don't know about this.
So y'all don't know what white privilege looks like, but I'm gonna show you a little bit of something.
I'm gonna show you a little bit of something.
You know, the congressional seat is over 4 times as large as my House seat.
I'm trying to get clarification.
Look at, calm down. Calm down.
No, because this is what y'all do.
And I was just starting to get into the rhythm of doing constituent services.
They send them to Texas, they send them to Florida. Every deplorable state that we can think about, they usually coming out of y'all's think tank.
There was someone that talked to me and said, in fact, a former ambassador, and the Clinton administration.
Please calm
Don't
down.
tell me to calm down,
Calm down.
because y'all
Please
talk
calm
noise
down.
and then you
You're
can't
out of
take
control.
He said, Jasmine, what you have to realize is that if you are really going to make change, it's not going to be in the Texas House. He said, you did a great job playing defense.
Oh my God, I didn't realize this interview is being conducted by Norm Eisen. That's who that is on the left. Norm Eisen is one of these lead anti-Trump attorneys who files all these crazy federal lawsuits against Trump, like preventing him from building the ballroom and all that kind of nonsense. I'm not sure if he's responsible for that particular one, but I've covered dozens of these federal lawsuits against Trump since Trump's inauguration, and Eisen is behind a huge number of them. He's got an organized efforts to use the federal courts to kneecap the political will of the American people as expressed through their election of Trump. I'd forgotten this.
But you have a chance to play offense.
If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
I should
I
describe
had no
those
idea
words.
what you just said.
The management, so to speak, changes. It's not just always one party that has everything.
I did it first.
voted to do
Y'all
it.
did it first, so you know what I'm talking about.
Voted to do it.
Order.
All right, so that's enough of Jasmine. Nothing like having to deal with an angry black woman. That's for sure. All right, so we saw a lot of crazy black people, including Jasmine. Now I want to show you, in fairness, and because it's true, a lot of good black people out there who have a reasoned, civilized take of all this. Bald Eagle 1787 $5 says her district wasn't eliminated. She gave up her district to run for Senate and lost to Tallarico. She cried racism then and is still crying racism now. I thought her district was eliminated, would be eliminated for the next election, and that's why she chose to run against Tallarico. That was my understanding. I could be mistaken. I don't follow it that closely. And Candy Mountain Bulldogs $5. I commented on the picture on your Twitter, but Lawn Crime used a picture of Anthony at a track meet in front of a high school that shows he's 74 inches tall. So 6'2", not 5'7". How interesting. How interesting. That would be interesting. I'll take a look at that when I finish up with the show here. And let's see. Let me check out Law of Self-Defense. Just have to find where I put it. Here we go. Looking for lawofselfdefense.com community right here. Saying that Karmelo Anthony got off light with 35 years. I agree with that. Jeffrey says the sad thing is if Karmelo gets out early, odds are he'll be back within 2 years. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Dave says Philandro Castile, stoned out of his mind when told to stop reaching, said as he picked up the pistol to show he didn't need to reach. I don't have to reach. I have it right here. Bang, bang, bang. Jeffrey says, when I'm finished with Force Science certification, I really have to put up my studies on gun violence and how we can minimize it. Sad thing is both gun control groups and cities wouldn't follow the recommendations. Yeah, they don't really care about gun violence. They care about gun control. Let's see. Okay, so I caught up there. Let's get to, whoops. Where's my good black people at? Oh, here it is. All right, so Zeke Arkham. Zeke Arkham is a very, he's a good follow on X. Black gentleman. Here's his take. My response, he writes to Boquisha. I don't think the woman's name is actually Boquisha. Rant about the injustice of the verdict here.
Karmelo ended up stabbing.
He's talking about Jasmine Crockett.
I don't know what this tool was that they talk about, knife, or some refer to it as a tool. He ended up hitting Austin one time, and it was about where he hit him. One time, 2 inches. This wasn't someone who said, hey, let me stab you 5, 6, 7 times. And so when you're looking at the punishment range, there's a reason.
I am fully convinced that Boquisha was the worst public defender ever. Like, you know how you see those public defenders? They got like the suit that's like 2 sizes too big for them. And they got like a whole binder full of papers. And they're like, what's your name again? Okay, and what's your charge? Okay, yeah, that was her. That was her. Just with the wig and the eyelashes and the overdone makeup. But that was her. And if she was your public defender, you were cooked. You might as well just defend yourself. It's probably the same type of public defender that defended Karmelo Anthony. And that's why he got the time he did. Because that public defender probably had no idea what they were doing. And shame on his parents because they had like a whole gun GoFundMe and everything. And instead of spending that on an attorney for their son who was arrested for murder, they went and they spent it on a house and cars and everything else like that. So, yeah, Boquisha, you have no idea what you're talking about. Can you imagine your attorney going in front of court and saying, well, you know, he only stabbed him once, you know, so I don't think he should get, I mean, he's dead, but you only stabbed him once. I mean, it was just one time. It wasn't like 5 or 6 times. It was just once. Can you imagine your attorney saying that?
Of course, the once was enough, wasn't it?
She is a lawyer. She is an attorney. I don't know if she passed the bar, but she's an attorney. She graduated from a law school, and this is what she's saying. This is the worst thing I think I've ever heard in my life. No, Karmelo Anthony is not a victim in this. The victim is Austin Metcalf. The victims are Metcalf's family. That's who the victim.
He killed him efficiently. Karmelo Anthony killed Austin Metcalf efficiently with just one stab of a knife to the heart, and therefore he should get a break for that murder. That's the reasoning here. Now, you may remember when I showed you all the crazy black people. They were all black people. Now I'm going to show you good people, a bunch of good black people. But the thing I found notable is the people with the correct, the correct view of this as a murder for which Karmelo Anthony needs to be held legally culpable. They were mixed. White and black people, ebony and ivory, working together in perfect harmony. You didn't see the white people on the crazy side. So I tried to shake them up here. So here's American Girly. She writes. Let's see what she has to say.
I'm going to say this so blunt. If you were out there defending Karmelo Anthony, you're insane and you're racist as fuck. Sorry. Oh my God, crazy. She said it. You are literally defending a murderer because he's black. Okay, this has nothing to do with
That's
race.
true.
Let's try and break it down for these low IQ people. You can't walk up to someone and stab them. You just can't do it. Sorry. I know that might be really hard for people to hear, but you can't commit first-degree murder because you don't like what someone said. We have actual celebrities saying this is disgusting and this isn't justice with 101,000 likes and 99 million views. There's 101,000 people that think that Karmelo Anthony being in jail is an injustice. Oh my God, I heard someone say this is a lynching. Are you guys well? Best part for me is if Karmelo Anthony somehow got away with this, guess what? He would kill someone again. And I bet you it wouldn't be a white person. You want to know why? Because it's not about the skin color. It's about committing first-degree murder, you absolute fucking morons.
Where's the lie? I think I'll be saying that a lot here. Where's the lie? Jonah Finn says, was that the ghost of Janet Reno behind Jasmine Crockett in the hall? I did see some fat lady back there. I didn't make that connection. That's pretty funny. Thanks, man. And let's see, super chat here, a couple super chats. I'm not your buddy, guy. 5 Canadian says, no, I'm late. I know I'm late. We'll rewind. But if you haven't already, could you react to Barnes' reaction? Does he have a new one? I haven't seen it. I don't really follow what Barnes is doing unless someone sends it to me or the X algorithm pops it up in my timeline. I don't see it. If you have something interesting, send it to me. Or, you know, I'm on X at The BRANCA Show, and I can take a look at it there. I'll take a look before we sign off the show if I remember. Janto Pacquiao, $10, says, Jasmine seems to be getting whiter. I wonder why that would be. She certainly adopted the white hairstyle, didn't it? Appropriated the white hairstyle. This guy is also a good follow on X. I encourage you to check him out. A black gentleman, obviously. Let's see what he has to say here.
truth. That this is a racist ass country. We gotta tell them the truth. Who don't you stop that coon ass shit? Don't nobody want to hear about what we do to each other. We talk about what they doing to us.
That was it. She said the whole thing out loud. She doesn't want to talk about what we're doing to each other, which is the actual problem. She doesn't want to talk about our mindsets, which are the actual problem. She doesn't want to talk about our decision making, which,
of course, when he says our, he's talking about the black community,
is the actual problem. If Karmelo Anthony would have been taught how to make better decisions, he wouldn't even be in the situation to begin with. But she's not going to say that. They're out protesting, not wanting Karmelo Anthony to be found guilty after he stabbed somebody through the heart at a track meet with a knife he was not supposed to have in a place he was not supposed to have it. And if he would have been taught, look, if someone's coming with fist, you handle that with fist. You don't grab a weapon immediately. Especially in a more of a controlled situation like a track meet. If he was like caught late at night in an alleyway, totally different.
Would make a difference.
His life was not in danger. And rather than working with these, he decided to grab a knife and stab it through somebody's chest. As a teenager in high school, again, at a track meet. But now let's go back to this woman, because I think this is like almost the epitome of what is the problem with Black Americans today in this country. So remember what she said. She said, we don't want to talk about what we do to each other. We want to talk about what they do to us. That's what Black people in general, not all of us, but too many of us, the vast majority of us, love to focus on. And she said, talking about what we do to each other is coon shit. Nobody want to hear about that coon shit? Whatever she said, something like that. Here are 5 names: Tyel Coates, Jamonte Shaw, Antone Little, Malik Moore, and D'Angelo Scott. All 5 of those right there are Black teen males that have been murdered this year. In these cases, 90% of the time they are murdered at the hands of another Black person. That's not coon shit, that's facts. And this is one of the problems that Black people as a whole in this country have. But we weren't protesting about the fact that these 5 people.
We talked about this yesterday, right? If Austin Metcalf had been Black, we never would have heard about this. I mean, these Black kids are killing these Black kids. 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds are killing each other just in Chicago alone every weekend by the dozens. To the extent they live, it's only because the Chicago ERs have gotten pretty good at treating gunshot wounds. 50 years ago, the number of fatalities from these gunshot wounds would have been a multiple of what they are now.
Were killed. But now we're out in the streets and we're mad and we're outraged because a Black man is found guilty after he stabbed somebody through the heart. And the person he stabbed happened to be white. And that's why we're so up in arms and so, emotional about this. But this is what we do. So in 2024, there were 15,795 murder victims. About half of them were Black. Of the half that were murdered, 90% of the people that murdered them were Black. So over 7,000 Black people were murdered at the...
But you don't hear Black people talking about this generally, right? At least not in a high-profile way.
Hands of other Black people in 2024, and we really didn't do much about it. Oh, okay. If you truly care about Black boys' lives, this is where the problem is. This isn't about protection.
But it reminds me, in a sense, about it's like with gun control laws. So when I lived in Massachusetts, Massachusetts had a law. If you were caught with an unregistered gun, you didn't have a license, it was a mandatory minimum 1 year in prison. Mandatory minimum. You could be a middle-class white businessman or a lawyer like me. They caught you with a gun without a license, mandatory 1 year in jail. Well, that mandatory 1 year in jail was the first charge dismissed if the person caught with the gun was a young Black man. They just dismissed it. They never enforced it against the young Black kid, but they would have enforced it against me if I didn't have a concealed carry permit. And the reason they would do that is because enforcing it against me has an effect. I not only do I suffer the punishment, but all the other white guys in Massachusetts, they see what happened to me and they're like, oh man, I better not carry a gun. They're going to put me in jail. But if a young Black guy does it and you enforce the law against him, is it going to keep other young Black men from carrying guns illegally? No, of course not. So the attitude is, well, there's no point in us enforcing it against young Black men because it won't change their behavior. It makes sense from a public policy perspective to enforce it against white guys because that will change white guy behavior. It's the same thing about talking, well, why do we only care when it's a white person who's involved in a fight with the Black kid? Not when it's another Black kid who's involved in a fight with a Black kid. It's almost like they feel like, well, there's no point talking to Black kids about it because you can't change their behavior. Is that it? They're just hard-coded to be violent? You can't change their behavior? But if a white person's involved, well, then you do insert the judicial system because You can change white behavior. They'll learn from being persecuted.
Protecting a black boy. Black boys die every day, and these people say nothing. It's more about trying to win in a race battle that really no longer exists. It's counterproductive when we put too much energy into the wrong areas, and this is a perfect example of that. It's stupid. I'm probably going to make a part 2 to this video, but that's all I've got for now.
Okay, next one. Another white girl. Let's see what she has to say on all of this. And by the way, gentlemen, you're welcome. It just happens that the white girls who talk about this stuff tend to have low-cut shirts on. So I didn't pick them for that reason. That's just what popped up in my feed. But here you go, fellas.
Maybe it is time that we really start talking about segregating. How are we supposed to coexist with people? You think that you're allowed to just stab people and shoot people because of an altercation of words or getting a little bit heated? You think that's okay because you have been propagandized so much. You can't coexist with people like this. No one wanted this shit, but you guys can't understand how badly you are being lied to and propagandized, and then you go after white people that have nothing to do with your plight. How are we supposed to live amongst people like this? Every time you don't get your way, you riot. You bitch about reparations. You're never getting reparations. For one, you don't deserve them. Every person on earth was a slave. If you can't see that they use you and play on your emotions to make you wild out and destroy yourselves in the process while doing their bidding, I don't know what to tell you. You have plenty of information out there, but you just think that you can do whatever you want, say whatever you want to white people because you are owed something. You are owed nothing. We are all suffering under oppressive regimes, whether you want to admit that or not. Your black ancestors are the ones that sold you in the first place. Thousands of white people died to
I didn't
free
know that.
slaves. And we're still somehow the problem. You're the problem. You'd rather just blame everyone else and say, oh, I'm a victim, so I might as well not even try. And taking your anger out on people that can't help you. We are all fucked. Instead of working together.
So I guess I told, so I know Anna and Cecil, they've had me on their show a number of times. Very, very kind. I always have a good time. I didn't know this was a friend of theirs. So now I've told the world that their friend Leanne Starr has a nice rack. There you go.
Together, yes, go ahead, riot, bitch. What are we gonna do? Our sons, tell them to stop fucking stabbing people, robbing people. What the fuck? It's not that hard.
Stop stabbing people and robbing people. What the F? It's not that hard. It's hard to argue with that. Let me hit some of these super chats before I go on too long. Gifted 5 memberships. Tread, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Please get Andre Williams on your show. He's a great man. I don't know, does he guest on people's shows? My show's not really a guest show. I'm not really that organized. I do have guests occasionally. I can take a look at it. That was pooping while standing. Johnny Rivers, $5, says, sir, these people just want to be left alone to live in peace, and they will accidentally hit as many white kids in the heart as it takes to get it. He was a good kid. He was a good kid. Zero evidence that Austin Metcalf was anything but just a good kid. 76 Wild Man, $10. Thank you very much, my friend. How did MLK Jr. words get lost to so many people? Here's some money for the pain of listening to Jasmine's voice. That's very kind of you. I do this out of love for all of you and the occasional super chat. One of the difficulties is with all this is, Martin Luther King Jr. preached this colorblind society, right? One day my children will be judged by the content of the character, not the color of their skin. This dream of American colorblind society. And I think we should have an American colorblind society. I'm 100% for it. But when you make the society actually colorblind, black people as a demographic, not as individuals, they have excellent individuals, but black people as a demographic, generally speaking, do not perform as well in a capitalist society as white people do. On average, there's a lower IQ, there's a lower academic performance. Doesn't make them bad people, doesn't make them less in the eyes of God, but just like I'm not equipped to be an NBA player, most of the NBA is black guys. Demographically, they're more equipped to be pro NBA players. I don't have a racial grievance over that. That's just the way it works. And certain demographics tend to have a higher IQ and will be more successful at higher skill tasks and jobs, like being a lawyer or an engineer or a doctor or whatever. So you end up with a disparity of outcome based on race. Well, when we said we'll all be colorblind, we got rid of Jim Crow. We said, all right, everybody into the ring. Let's just equal opportunity, not outcomes, but equal opportunity for everybody. Well, they had the equal opportunity, but they weren't getting the same outcomes. And nobody wants to pretend that their poor outcomes are the result of that. They want to believe it's someone else's fault. So they have a racial grievance. So in the 70s, they forced the U.S. government to get rid of civil service exams. Well, you were allowed to have a civil service exam, but you couldn't have one where the testing had a racially disparate outcome. They tried to develop 10, 15 different civil service exams. They were never able to come up with one that didn't have racially disparate outcomes. Is every test broken? Or is it just that the demographics have different qualities for an examination of that type? It's why so many of the schools today, they want to do their DEI, so they get rid of the SAT. An objective measure of academic performance, predictor of academic performance, because they don't do well on the test, and then they get angry. There's over incarceration because there's so many black people in prison. It must be racism, right? It can't be because black people commit crimes at a substantially homicides at a 50% rate, interracial homicides, just flat homicides at 8, 9, 10 times the rate of if you know the crime rates, you should not be surprised there's a lot more black people than white people in prison per capita. Per capita. But they don't like those bad outcomes. It has to be someone else's fault. And for years, white people have put up with it. We've all been conditioned. You're not allowed to say in polite society, well, maybe they're not doing as well at high performance jobs because they're just, as a group, not individuals. Again, my definition of the perfect Supreme Court is this. Clarence Thomas is a black guy. I would love it if the Supreme Court was all Clarence Thomases. There are black people who are performing at a very high level, higher than me. I'm not as smart as Clarence Thomas. But the outliers aren't enough. And you're not allowed to say, well, maybe on average, they're just not as capable at these highly technical jobs. So you shouldn't be surprised when there aren't as many of them. The only way to get the meaningful numbers is to have anti-white racism, affirmative action, DEI, to put a finger on the scale in the interest of people because they have black skin and against the interest of other people because they have white skin. In other words, to be explicitly anti-white racist. In a real colorblind world, we would just let people succeed or not as they were able. We would lock people in prison as they were able. We wouldn't lock up the white guy in the first offense and then let the black guy be released 15 times without prosecution so he could stab a little white girl on a train. If everyone was treated by the same standard, you'd end up with a lot more black people in prison and a lot fewer black doctors, and they can't abide that. That's the real social problem here. All right, here's another black girl, and I think this one says the N-word a lot. So sorry, this is not me saying it. But there's a black girl talking about black supremacy, the deadliest ideology slaughtering white people. Let's listen to her.
This fucking chimp right here killed a white child and has gained millions of fucking supporters, all of them being niggers, of course. But I'm just gonna say, black supremacy is the most dangerous ideology in this fucking world. And the whole Karmelo Anthony and the whole Rick Chow thing just tells you these people are fucking brain dead niggers. The thing they don't get is when you be a nigger, you get consequences like jail time or being killed. Either one of those. Black people think they can get away with every fucking thing and protest about it when they get the consequences. It does not fucking work that way anymore like it did in 2020 when y'all were being ass-kissed by every fucking person on this planet. Nobody gives a fuck about you niggers anymore. We want y'all gone, including us black people. We want you fuckers gone.
So I just want to note that she's explicitly differentiating black people as one category in which she would place herself and N-words as a separate category that she's definitely distancing herself from, that she's saying they are the problem.
Child thing, Asian people have every fucking right to hate y'all. They've been hating y'all since the beginning of time, and I can honestly sympathize with them because you people go into their stores and fucking steal. You terrorize them. You've been beating their fucking grandmothers up for the past fucking years. What the fuck happened to Asian Lives Matter? Everybody remembers it all died down because niggers were the ones committing the crimes against Asians. I'm just gonna say one more thing.
Niggers, you see every fucking race is fucking tired of you. You cannot keep boycotting everything that goes against your fuck.
That was the funniest thing. After the Rick Chow verdict, all the black people are saying, we're going to boycott the Asian stores. There's a reason the convenience stores are being run by Asians because black people won't do it or can't do it. What are you going to do? Go to all these black businesses? Where are they exactly?
Gas culture. You can't boycott every fucking race. You can't boycott every fucking thing. You have to realize it's y'all. It's you niggers that keep fucking up your own image. It's not Asian people because you were attacking them. It's not white people because y'all are actively fucking killing them. Y'all are killing black people too. And y'all don't really give a fuck about that. Mexicans are tired of y'all. Ashley Gonzalez, beautiful mention right there. Women like her, we need more of her. I'm just gonna say that. You can't boycott everything because everybody's fucking tired of y'all shit. It's time y'all fucking change or we will do something about it. Plain and simple.
The only real solution is tons of prosecutions and convictions. So back to that was a black lady, so now we have a white guy. This is Asmongold, who has, of course, a huge social media presence on YouTube, on Kick, platforms I'm not even familiar with. And this is his take on all this Karmelo Anthony stuff. He's pretty based. You wouldn't expect it from his rainbow shirt, but let's give a listen.
Fuck white life. How about that? I'm saying that.
Fuck white life.
These games. Y'all want to play these crackhead games, so I'm gonna play them. Fuck white lives. How about that? How about that?
I told you they are the most racist motherfuckers, bro. Like, these people are so fucking racist. It is insane. It's tribal as fuck. And I'm glad people are finally seeing this. I am. Because now, like, because any level of, like, white guilt that anybody has nowadays that's, like, trying to run defense for this or justify it or anything, bro, like, it is just embarrassing at this point.
I mean, where's the lie? Where's the mistake?
I'm actually so glad this trial happened and all this is happening, because I think this is going to be a big wake-up moment for a lot of people to realize that actually, no, like, a lot of these narratives aren't even true. It's just bullshit.
A lot of these narratives aren't even true. That was a white guy after a black lady, so now we're back to a black lady. Let's hear what she has to say.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Being black right now is completely embarrassing. You niggas are some of the most vile, inhumane species that have ever graced the earth. For days, I've watched black people jump around like monkeys, act a belligerent fool.
There's Hippity Hop, we talked about earlier. Got arrested on a weapons charge and an outstanding felony warrant. Hippity Hop. He didn't last too long. He got his 15 minutes of fame. She says they're acting like animals. Dalton Etherly is supposed to be hated as a racial monster because he uses the phrase chimping out. I mean, what do you call this? Hippity Hop.
Like monkeys.
Like monkeys.
A belligerent fool. Act a whole entire nut over a decision that somebody chose to do. And now, y'all are out here
Okay. Oh, is it continuing?
harming innocent white people in the name of Karmelo Anthony. You know, I again, as I've said before, I am a Christian woman. And I know that the Lord don't make mistakes, but I just know that he has to look at the nigger population and know that he definitely made a big time mistake with y'all. Since I'm on the road with keeping it real about you niggas, let's keep it real. Y'all with this nigger mentality mindset is holding white people hostage. And you're holding white people hostage for some shit that you did. Cause see, you niggas have been violating God. Y'all have been violating God since the biblical time. Y'all have been so disrespectful to the word of God so bad that he put a curse on us. He said that your kids and your kids' kids and their kids are going to feel the effects of your disrespectfulness.
She's gone biblical on the N-words.
And it's so crazy because to this very day, y'all still continue to defy God. We are the reasons that we are at the bottom of the totem pole. No other race is responsible for why we are here. The same behavior that's happening now was the same behavior that happened back then, and because of that, we are still reaping what we sow behind it. We put our own self in bondage. We put our own selves in captivity. All because of our stupidity. It's all because of the bad behavior. What do we say? We know when a person has learned their lesson through changed behavior, and the behavior is still the same. We have not learned nothing. Because we have learned nothing, we are continuing to rot as a nation of people. That is why I am so grateful that God has separated me from the majority of you niggas. And I know a lot of y'all don't like when I use the term nigga. But you have to understand that this is a subset of black people. It's not all of us. It is a subset of us that displays this animalistic behavior that make y'all think that we as a people, that we all act like that and we don't. And I hate to say it, but until the mindset of black people change, this Karmelo Anthony case is going to be a continual thing.
I'd have this woman as a neighbor. I wouldn't have any problem with that.
Black kids will continue to die. While this case is closed, the headlines will still continue. We are always the usual suspects and common denominators in everything. And until that changes, we're going to expect more funerals on the horizon because y'all don't believe in change. Y'all not going to change the problem. And it's just going to be a continual cycle. So let's just be prepared to see more Karmelo Anthonys in the future.
Where's the lie? Here's a black gentleman wearing a cowboy hat. Whoops. Let's hear what he has to say to black people about all, not all black people, of course, what that young lady would have called the N-words. Well, she wouldn't have called them N-words. She was just saying it.
Only black people are at the point where they will feel sorry for the criminal and the murderer more than the actual person who's not with us anymore. The actual victim, they don't care about. Everyone feels sorry for this little monster. I never felt comfortable around you niggas. That's why I got the hell away from y'all. I think this is a game. Like, oh, you're just saying this for likes and clicks. No, I'm not even near you niggas. My kids don't go to school with you niggas. This ain't for likes. This is for real. Like growing up, when my friends would come over, hey, my dad would check them at the door. Listen, man, you gotta take that do-rag off. This do-rag ain't allowed here. My dad didn't like do-rags. Because he watches the news. He see who's doing the killing. Take that do-rag off before you come over. And that's all. Like, and you know, when I was a kid, I didn't understand. I'm like, why is dad like this? What's going on with dad, Ma? Why is he tripping? Why is he embarrassing me? My mom sat me down and told me a story. Listen, your dad's seen a lot of things. What do you mean, Ma? What happened? You know, I never told you this, and don't tell your father I told you, but when we were young, you know, we used to party at your dad's house, you know, when we were 16, and his brother had just come home from the military.
All right, I'm sorry. I got to stop playing it because they put music in it, and I can't play music. I'll get a strike. But you get the point. The gentleman was sharing. That was a black gentleman. Now we're back to a black woman. Let's hear what she has to say about this.
This Karmelo Anthony case is unfortunate. But when you take a life, you give a life. Had he had a fight or they jumped him, they all would have lived to fight another day. But he killed that boy. Regardless of what was happening, he took his life. That boy will never come back.
That's true.
So while it's all the way around sad, it is what it is. He got 35 years. In 35 years, he'll come out and he'll have a life. That kid he killed will never have a life. This is not about color. This is just facts. A lot of people are comparing it to the other case where the Asian guy shot the black boy in the back. That was wrong. He got off. That was wrong. But that is not the same case as this Karmelo Anthony case. So when you're out there letting yourself get really emotional about this, just remember, Karmelo Anthony's going to get out of jail in 35 years. That boy he killed will never come back. It's Karmelo Anthony.
Yep. Where's the lie? Where's the lie? Here's another black lady with a traditional African haircut. I got some super chats to catch up on, so let me do that. I'll put the mugs up. The mugs, don't forget, Father's Day is a week from Sunday, folks. Whether your dad loves or hates Trump, you should get him mugs. Get him these $250 note mugshot. That's Trump's mugshot on the mug. If your dad loves Trump, he'll love the mug. If he hates Trump, buy him 6 mugs and a hammer from Home Depot. He can smash them right there on Father's Day. It'll be the most memorable Father's Day he's ever had. I promise you that. The link for the mugs is in the description. It is in the description. It's also pinned, the pinned comment in the chat, or you can scan that QR code right there on the screen. All right. Maddie the Surfer, $2, says, effing based, Andrew. The truth. We try to speak the truth here, for sure. Mamama, $3.99. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Amazing Disgrace. Good to see you. $5. It's encouraging to see black fatigue in the black community. Yeah, that's why I'm playing these clips. I think it is important to see it, to know that it's there. Max Dog, 104, member for 11 months. Watch Karmelo Anthony Camp's worst mistake, humiliating the victim's father. 20 more years for Karmelo, by the lead attorney. Read Matthew 5:25. I'll check out the lead attorney. I like the lead attorney. He's a smart guy. We don't always agree, of course, but he's a smart guy. Boyet Pogi, $2, says, why they're asking for 1.4 million on their Give, Send, Go page. Yeah, why not 1.4 billion? Why limit yourself? I mean, if you're going to grift, go big or go home. Go big or go home. All right. Here's another black woman with thoughts on this that are not insane.
The most racism I have felt is from people who look like me. And that's the part that I'm like,
what do you mean? Can you give me some examples?
Well, when people who look like me tell me I'm not black enough, or call me a coon, and a very long list of things I won't even repeat.
Because
of my views, because, how can I be a Republican or conservative based on the racist Republican Party and the racist Donald Trump and all, isn't that what we want in America? That's what America is. That's what we are promoting. So shut up with your divisiveness. It has devastated me the most, though, when Black people have said what they've said. And oh my gosh, it's probably a massive minority of people, but it's a very loud minority.
A very loud minority. Andre Williams, I have a few clips to play from him. Somebody mentioned having him on as a guest. I very much doubt he knows I exist. But he writes, Karmelo Anthony deserves the death penalty. If you're defending Karmelo Anthony, then you're defending the murderers of black kids every day. Black kids die the same way every day. Black kids get murdered like Austin Metcalf did every day in our black community by N-words like Karmelo Anthony. Karmelo Anthony. Another Andrew Williams. The best video showing the difference between black and N-words. This is exactly what we need to segregate ourselves, he would say the black community, from and push out of our communities, he would say the N-words.
Any of these crackers, any of these white boys, Austin's family. All right, what about Austin's family? You think Austin's family would have did the same for you if she was on the other foot? I'm sorry, what? Well, Austin's family did the same thing when he advocated for you, just like you doing now. What makes you think and gives you hope? What gives you hope that they would do that for you?
It's not about me. I'm not dead right now. It is a kid that is dead, though, and he didn't deserve to lose his life.
We not at, so listen, brother.
He said there is a kid who is dead who didn't deserve to lose his life, meaning Austin Metcalf. And look how mad these black people get at him.
Like you? I don't give a fuck about you, these motherfucking white people. These white people don't give a fuck about you. You a fucking coon.
My son don't say white people.
Well, see, let us see what they say. You keep holding it up because you pussy. I'm wrong.
All right, listen.
You're an effing COON, she's saying to him. She's saying to him. And that's what Andre Williams is saying, that this shows this is the difference. This guy with the earbuds in, he's talking like a rational human being, right? Applying powers of reason to conversation. And the black woman, Dalton Etherly would say she's chimping out, right? Here's another black guy. And I'm going to come back to Andre. I think I have some more Andre clips to share.
Friends, when tragedy strikes,
And when evil strikes, it doesn't matter what color you are. And for Karmelo Anthony to have done something as evil as he did, unprovoked stabbing of another teenager and killing him, do you think if that other teenager was also black, there'd be all this uproar? Or do you think amongst the mostly black community, they would say what he did was not right?
Yeah.
But because Austin is white, the devil is having a field day with this. Evil loves evil. And evil loves to perpetrate people against themselves based on skin color. Every single black person out there that is championing Karmelo, that is standing up for Karmelo, that was just found guilty in a court of law for murder, you are just as bad as the KKK. Yes, you are. Just as freaking bad as the Ku Klux Klan that was hanging black folks by trees, dragging them, doing ungodly, unspeakable evils to black folks. You black folks are just as evil. You're operating in the same spirit of evil and murder that goes all the way back to Cain in the Bible. So hopefully you wake up, call evil what evil is, and what Karmelo did was evil, and he needs to be held accountable, and he's being held accountable. So just knock it off with all the other nonsense.
Hear, hear. That was a black gentleman, so I'm now back to a black lady. Her thoughts on this.
Good morning. Happy Wednesday. It is a great day to be a motherfucking live. I still got breath in my body. Karmelo still got breath in his body. Austin, I can't say the same, buddy. Good morning. Happy Wednesday.
Carmelo's alive. Austin Metcalf is not. Another black woman.
If we take up for ourselves, we go to jail. If we don't, we die. So it's a catch-22 in this situation. What do you want us to do?
What I and most of the world want you to do is to stop acting like you're the victim when you're not. What I want you to do is to teach your sons that bringing a knife to a track meet is not the way to go. What I want you to do is to stop acting like you're oppressed. White boogeyman is not out to get you. What I want you to do is to turn to God, repent of your sin of being obsessed with race, making everything about race, playing the victim card. Every race-obsessed individual, we're over it. It's like the boy who cried wolf. We've had enough. Every rational, common sense folk in the world is tired of it. We have black ghetto fatigue.
The fatigue.
All you guys do are throw around insults and act entitled. You lack accountability. We want you to have accountability.
If we take up for ourselves.
This gentleman, another black gentleman, going back and forth on the genders here.
Witnesses of Karmelo Anthony trial has been revealed in their testimony. Keep in mind, people, the majority of the witnesses that testify on this stand are black kids, okay?
Black kids.
Now, specifically, one testimony by an 18-year-old girl that actually knew both of them. She was friends with both of them, Austin and Karmelo, said something that basically sealed the entire case. And every single one of them, keep in mind, people say the same thing, that Karmelo was asked repeatedly over and over again to get out of their team 10. Now, keep in mind, people, this did happen at the track meet. Austin and the witnesses were on one team, and Karmelo was on another team. For whatever reason, we don't know. In my humble opinion, Karmelo decided to walk over there probably to impress a girl. Maybe that's just speculations, or look cool in front of his homeboys. Who knows? We would never know. At the end of the day, he scrolled his little scrawny butt over there, instigating and provoking people. Now, based off the testimony of all the witnesses, they said that they asked this boy to leave multiple times. Austin is the team leader. Okay, he is the team leader of that team, very protective. He noticed that Karmelo was there sitting, instigating things. He gently placed his hand on Karmelo's back, okay, and asked Karmelo to leave. Karmelo then responded, "You touch me, you see what happened." And then he went into his bag, grabbed this knife, and stabbed Austin. Now, I know earlier last year when this happened, there was rumors going around social media, black liberal social media, that, oh, they jumped him. Austin, his brother, jumped him. Oh, they jumped him. They're racist. No, that did not happen at all. Oh, he was bullying them. No, that did not happen at all. Okay, and even today, protesting that is going on right now, they're still claiming that, he was bullied. The witnesses that was there is claiming otherwise. They have witnessed otherwise. They have seen otherwise. So what the hell are you all talking about? That boy committed murder. That's it. That's it. So for the mother and the father and all these people to be over there protesting on some, oh, well, and you seen Al Sharpton and all the rest of the Democrat, they ain't nowhere to be found. They vanish. They're gone. The BLM, and they all capitalize off the situation when this story was fresh last year. That's it. For a complete narrative to benefit their party, to benefit their organization. Where are they at now? This boy was just sentenced
Now that the truth is out.
found guilty. Where are they at now? They're done with him. They're done with him.
By the way, Carmelo's own parents are done with him. It would seem like, except for grifting. His mother barely testified during the sentencing stage, asking for mercy for his son. The father wasn't even there. And then they all left. They squeezed out of Karmelo the monetary value they could squeeze out of their son.
Now, speculations say that the mother used the money for a nose job. That is rumors. Do I believe it? I think I could believe something like that.
Her nose is different.
Bought houses and cars and shit, right?
Her nose is a lot thinner now than it used to be, than it was at the time of the stabbing.
It's sad because I blame the father, right? The father taught, if you're looking at this man, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Okay, well, that's enough of him. I have a couple more things I want to get to that are more important. Specifically, Andre Williams again. And I thought this was so funny. So the verdict was announced, and he immediately posted, "Let the great chimp out begin." Chimp out. Again, Dalton Etherly's chimp out. Being said now by black people observing what they characterize as chimp out behavior. Lock your doors and grab your guns, Andre Williams says. And then he has this kind of lengthy, it's 5 minutes long, thing on the difference between sub-segments of the black community. Blacks, I can't even say these words. They're on the screen. I don't want to get in trouble for saying any of these words, and I can't just say N-word because nobody would know what I was talking about. Blacks and 3 different escalating kinds of N-words. And I'm going to let Andre speak for himself. I think I will speed it up a little bit because it's otherwise it's kind of long. It's almost 6 minutes long, but it's worth listening to.
There are 4 different types of black Americans: blacks, Negroes, niggas, and niggers. The first 2 we're going to discuss is very common: blacks and niggas. Blacks are about maybe 20% of the black community. They're honest, they're hardworking, they care about the community, they care about themselves. They walk with respect for themselves, their community, and their family name. They're honest, hardworking people of good moral character. But like I said, they're only 20% of the black community. Because on the other side, you've got niggas, which are about 60% of the black community. 60% of the black community is filled with niggas, not blacks. You will find niggas before you find a respectable black person. And oftentimes, black people of good moral character, of good faith and good value, you know what they have to do? They have to hide because niggas are violent. Niggas are the first people to call them less than black, to attack their success, to bring them down and put them right back into the barrel. They are the majority. It is more popular to be a nigga than to be a black person of good character. That's a sad reality, and they represent about 60% of the black community. The third group, which represents about maybe 10% of the black community, is the financial and social elite of the black community, the modern-day house Negro. Now, the modern-day house Negro isn't doing the 1860s jive of, master is we sick. They are the biggest defenders of nigga shit. They will defend all the bad aspects of the black community, mainly niggas and their behavior. They will sit in the courts and advocate for Pookie and Tyrone to get freed from jail. They'll go, instead of being lawyers that are going to uphold justice or become police officers that are going to maintain order in their community. These are the people encouraging, hey, don't do that. This is a system of white supremacy. You should engage in trying to be a productive member in society. Get your money off the government and sit back and be a fucking leech on society. Be a parasite. They encourage no growth. Because you know why? They profit off of nigga culture and nigga behavior. They make money. When niggas do dumb shit, they make money through music, in academia, through the jails. They are the ones keeping black people back at the top. Niggas, of course, are keeping black people back by, of course, when we allow these people to run around and do the nigga shit that they do. But those who are funding it, those who are sitting back and enabling it, intellectually, from an intellectual standpoint, from a position of power and seniority, it's the modern day house Negro. These are your Barack Obamas, these are your Oprah Winfrey's, your Kamala Harris's, all these people in power. Democrat and Republican, doesn't matter. The Republicans won't do enough and are unrelatable to solve actual problems that black people have, and then the Democrats will sit back and relate to niggas and appease niggas because they're afraid that the niggas will attack them. They're afraid that they will lose money the moment that they turn away from nigga shit. I mean, look what we saw with Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj makes nigga music. She makes disgusting whore music for whores. And guess what? The moment you decide to go talk to Charlie Kirk's wife and go to the whole little event and everything, guess what? Niggas turned on her. They do this every time. And we see it each and every time. The final, the one we all want to say, niggers. Niggers represent about 10% of the black community. 10% of the black community. Now, this is something that is very comparable with the crime statistics in the country. Niggers are violent. They have no self-control. They're selfish. Far more selfish than niggas. Far more entitled than niggas. The thing is that they're willing to die. They're willing to fight aggressively over their behavior and defending their bullshit. They own nothing. They want nothing, really. Nothing long-term of actual success or something of good foundation. Niggas and niggers live for today, in the seconds, in the hours, not of tomorrow, not of next week, not of a decade forward. The problem with the modern-day house Negro is they also defend the nigger behavior. Either they don't call it out, or they sit back and they enable it in various different ways. Look at George Floyd. It's a prime example of a nigger, a disgusting parasite on the black community in America. And what did the entire country do? We burned down the entire country for this fucking parasite. We burned down the entire country for someone that was completely worthless, that had nothing of value that he was giving to society. Someone who was a roadblock to black people's success, someone who gave black
Where's
people
the lie?
And niggas, along with their masters, the modern-day house Negro, decided they were going to defend this fucking piece of shit. They did it with Trayvon Martin. They did it with Michael Brown. They did it with all these people who are clearly not the best case, not the best representation of black people, but you know why they did it? It's because they're black. And because we can make money. If we keep niggas at the bottom, if we keep niggas thinking this way, we keep niggas consuming, then we profit. Because niggas are the biggest consumers in America. Niggas will consume everything and then build nothing, and then complain that nothing's been built. That's the mindset, that's the mentality of niggas in America. And hopefully we get to a point where we can dismantle this entire system, this entire culture within the black community. But as of right now, nigger culture is dominant. Nigger behavior is more acceptable, is more attractive. Being a nigger is more popular than anything, than actually being black and caring about where you live, who you are, and what you want. But in time, with action, and people like myself and those who watch, things will change.
I hope so. I hope so. I found that super interesting. Myron Gaines. Myron, I've been on Myron's show. He's got a comment here. I mean, Myron, of course, has darker skin than me, for example. I don't think he would describe himself as black. I don't know. We've never had that kind of conversation, but let's see what Myron has to say.
Do not go ever to any type of event that is predominantly, never go to a club, never go to some get together. They have these gas station parties. Stay away from situations like this where there's a bunch of niggas, bro. Stay home.
Okay, all right. I don't want to get in trouble for the music in the background. And of course, I have to follow up those last couple of black guys with a quintessential white guy. The late and great Scott Adams, his little clip. When he had a moment of revelation. Scott Adams was such an interesting guy because he was simultaneously one of the smartest and one of the least smart people I've ever known. It was almost like he was born at 40 and he lacked decades of life experience, and he was discovering truths that a guy of his intellect, should have known already by his 20s or 30s. And then in his 60s or however old he was at the time, he's like, oh my God, it's really hard to live with black people. And he talked about it, and they canceled his entire career. Dilbert was wiped out.
So if nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. And I don't want to have anything to do with them. And I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the fuck away. Wherever you have to go, just get away. Because there's no fixing this. This can't be fixed. Right? This can't be fixed. You just have to escape. So that's what I did. I went to a neighborhood where I have a very low black population, because unfortunately there's a high correlation between the density. And this is according to Don Lemon, by the way. So here I'm just quoting Don Lemon when he notes that when he lived in a mostly black neighborhood, there were a bunch of problems that he didn't see in white neighborhoods. So even Don Lemon sees a big difference in your own quality of living based on where you live and who's there. So I think it makes no sense whatsoever as a white citizen of America to try to help black citizens anymore. It doesn't make sense. It's no longer a rational impulse. And so I'm gonna back off from being helpful to black America because it doesn't seem like it pays off. Like I've been doing it all my life, and the only outcome is I get called a racist. That's the only outcome. It makes no sense to help black Americans if you're white. It's over. Don't even think it's worth trying. Totally not trying. And there we go. You didn't expect that today, did you?
And the great and late Scott Adams. You're missed, Scott. You're missed. Funny story, Scott had me blocked on social media because he went a little crazy during the COVID period. He almost felt like COVID was targeted specifically at him. I think he had a little bit of hypochondria. Yeah. Anyway, we miss you, Scott. We miss you. Let me hit a couple of these super chats. And Tom Dillon, $20, says, do you see any reasonable grounds for a successful appeal here? I mean, I couldn't watch the trial, so it's hard for me to know. It doesn't seem likely. I mean, you can always appeal. You make something up, but whether it would be a harmless error, if there was any error, if things were objected to and preserved for appeal, I didn't have the opportunity to see. American Girl became a YouTube member. Well, thank you very much. Welcome to the family. And she did a super chat. $5. Hello, Mr. Branca. I've been watching for a while, but can only listen while working. Love your live streams, and I'm so looking forward to members-only streams. Yeah, I've just been busy, and we're doing these 3-hour shows. So, Danger Dad, $5. It's the bad 95% of them. YouTube won't let me use black. People that give the other 5% a bad name. Yep. And Tread 1775 gifted another 5 memberships. That's awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Hey, listen, I just got noticed that I have a dental appointment in 10 minutes. I forgot all about it. So I'm going to have to run. Thank you for being here with me today. Oh, no, we got one more Rumble rant. Sorry about that. $5. Jonah Finn. I promise you will not get a strike for playing this. I can't. I got to run. I'm sorry. I have to run. I apologize. My calendar just pinged me. All right. So, folks, I'll see you again tomorrow morning at noon Eastern Time with another Branca Show. Until then, I remain Attorney Andrew Branca for The Branca Show. Stay safe.